If you're an engineer or an architect and you're learning Revit or thinking about learning Revit, now is the best time because the BIM industry is doubling. So by the time you get there, if you understand how to use Revit, how to use the tools, right? And you have that skill set in your arsenal, you'll never be able to get fired and you'll always be able to get a high paying job. And even if you don't get any of those, you'll be able to start your own business and give your own services. So this is the one skill that you can use now. If you get ahead of the curve, you can beat all your competition. It's pretty much like YouTube when it just came out. It's brand new, it's very hard to learn, but if you learn it, you're in the best position to grow in your career. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do this according to a floor plan or like a housing plan which I've created, and we're gonna make the floor as if we are building this house, or as if we are modeling this house from scratch. So let me show you what this house is. If I bring this, you will see that this is the house that we're building. We want a floor for this level and we want a floor for level 1, right? So I'll show you, give you understanding about how floors work and everything to do with Revit, and then we'll build it for this house specifically. So you have your first floor and you have your second floor plan, right? What I do want to say is that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grid lines. So this house is like a rectangular house spanning that 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. But you'll see in our floor plan that I've created on Revit, which I created this in my project setup video, which is also on my YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description if you want to learn how to do this. But I also have the free template for this, so you can start off where I'm pretty much starting off. It's linked in the first link in my bio, which is my school group. You can get access to all my resources for free in that group, and you also have a free community, so you can ask me questions, DM me personally, and anyone else who's interested in learning Revit, right? So you can go and check that out. You can have this template for free. I created this in my previous video, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 1, 2, 3 here. So you want to actually add an extra grid line 5 over here, so we can actually model this house and place our floors, right? So let me do that. You'll notice that this says, this is sort of at an angle because this is based on our survey data, which we imported in my previous video. If I change this to Project North, everything will come back to normal and we can add our extra grid lines. So if I just take this and I do CO on my keyboard, I can take this and I can go this way and I can place this at 5500, click enter, and you have your grid line 5, which is automatic, right? This needs to be pinned so we don't move it around, and then we can probably fix these grid lines up by unpinning one of them and moving everything so they all come at the same time. We can move this elevation marker to the side, and then you want to make sure you pin everything in place again. So you have this sort of grid that we're gonna build our house and model our house on. The floor command, let's talk about that. The floor command is in the architectural tab. Underneath here, you'll see floor. There's no keyboard shortcut for that, but you can add anything you want. If you click this drop down, you'll see there's different types of floors. There's architectural floors, structural floors, and those are the two main ones, right? The difference is you'll have different properties associated with each. We're only interested in architectural floors because we're just modeling a house for fun, right? So we click architectural floor and you'll see that a new editing dialog box comes up. You have this modify tab which comes up and you have all these options here. You will see that if this boundary line is selected and you have different options. You have a circle, you have start to end radius arcs, and you can actually go ahead and if you want to do like a circle floor, you can click this, click anywhere, do like a circle, click this. If you click this finish edit mode, it'll make that circle as a floor. So you have a circular floor now, right? If you want to look at this in 3D, you can click this and then you can go to this, which is section box. If you type in BX on your keyboard, it'll do the same thing and it'll open this. So you can see that now you have a floor which is in 3D view. If you want, you can pull this out so we can see it at the same time. Place this on the side here. And so I made this in my floor plan, right? My ground floor plan, and you can see it in 3D view. But this is a circular floor. We don't really have houses like that. Even our floor plan is not like that. So let's get rid of that. So if you click that and click delete, it'll go away. Again, let's go back to our floor. If you click that, if you click this boundary line option again, you'll see that it changes. So now you have a rectangle. and you have lines. So if I click this rectangle, what I want to actually do is go from 1A all the way down to D5 and click OK, right? And if I click OK, it's going to create that floor and you'll see that floor there. And that's actually in line with what we were talking about here, because we said that our house is spanning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grids, and then it goes down from this grid line all the way down here. So let's just see how big this is. You have this grid line, and this grid line, and the distance between those is 6,000 meters. So if one of this, if you do DI, you can see the dimension between this and this. If that's 6,000, our house actually is only going to span from here to here. So we've actually made our house a bit too big. Let's edit this, because our floor is not actually meant to be that big. Our floor is only meant to be 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes big, and then 1, 2 boxes down, right? So 1, 2 boxes down. How do we edit this? Once you've placed your floor, you can click the floor and you can go edit boundary, and then you can edit everything you want again, right? So you can take this, you can move this up, and it'll snap onto that line, right? You click enter, and now you have your floor which has been placed properly. What we can do is, since I've finished my editing mode, right? I've finished. So you can place a floor, and once you click that tick, right? Once you're in the floor, you place everything. Once you click this tick, it finishes. So once you finish this, now you're back into your normal editing mode. If I place another floor on top of this floor, see what happens, right? If I go floor, architectural floor, and I want to place, click this boundary line so I get a square or a rectangle, and I want to place a floor in the middle again, and I click OK, it'll come up with some sort of error saying highlighted floors overlap, right? And you'll see that in your 3D view, there's a floor within the floor. So Revit is actually smart. It'll tell you if there is an overlap in the floors which you are producing. So that's a good thing that for you to know, that if you have floors which overlap, Revit will give you a warning, right? However, let's click that and delete it because we don't want it anymore. So it's gone now. On our 3D view, it's no longer there as well. If I click the floor which already exists and I click edit boundary, and then within this command, I'm already in the editing mode for the floor, right? This is the floor which I already placed. If I then place a box within here, right? Highlighted lines overlap, lines may not form closed loops. If you click OK, right? You click continue. Oh, lines cannot intersect each other. Okay, well, this line is intersecting with the line of my previous floor, right? So it's not working. But what I can do is I can delete those 4 lines which I created, and if I have that rectangle but sort of in the middle, something like this, right? And I place this and I click OK, it's going to actually cut a hole in that floor. And the reason you can't see it fully, it might look different, is because my view is not extended. So you want to drag that view, and you'll see that this floor I created, and I clicked edit boundary, and within there I put another floor or like another box in there. Once I click OK, since I was in the same editing mode, it actually modified the floor which was existing and it cut a hole in the floor, right? So you can do this with anything. You can't create a new floor command and then edit it. You have to edit the existing floor if you want to cut a hole within the floor, right? So edit boundary, you can add a circle somewhere here, click OK, and then it'll be cut, right? You want to extend this view again so you can see everything. So that's your whole floor, right? Let's just say that I don't want to do that anymore. So I can just select this, and you can't actually delete the circle. You can't delete the square yet or the rectangle. You have to edit your boundary and then click this, delete this, then click this, right? Instead of selecting all 4 of these, you can just hover over one of these or select one of them, hover over it, click tab, it'll select everything, click, delete, right? So you can do that and then click OK, and you have your floor back, right? Let's say that I want to change the elevation of this floor. I want to move the floor up, or I want to move the floor down. Well, if I click the floor and I go here, it says height offset from level 0, right? What if I want the floor to be 100 mils on top of the level, or 200 mils on top of the level? I can click this and I can go 100. If I click OK, right? Okay, now this floor is actually raised 100 mils on top of the level. You can't really see it from where we are now, but if I go to a elevation view, like east elevation, you'll see that, okay, you have ground floor, and that ground floor line is going in through the floor. And the reason is because the distance from that ground floor line to the top of that slab or the top of that floor is 100 because we raised it. So if we click that floor again, let's click the floor, click this floor, and you can do this from any view, by the way. 3D view, section view, any view. If you select something, it selects on all views. And you go here and you go 0 again. You want to 0 offset that. Click enter. What's going to happen is it's going to go back down. So then the top of that slab is going to be aligned with that level, right? A really important thing for you to note is that whenever you place floors and it says 0 elevation, that means the top of the slab is lining to that elevation, right? So if you want to put a floor in level 1, right, and we go back to our ground floor, let me move this east elevation over to here so you can see everything. So you have your 3D view, you have your elevation view, you have your floor plan. If I want to place another floor and I go, and if I click floor, right, let's just say I click boundary line again, so I get this rectangle and I want to place it from here to here, but I want to place it on my level 1. So remember how we have a ground floor and then we have a level 1? I want to place it on level 1. Well, before I place it, I can actually edit which level I'm placing it on. So instead of ground floor, let's go to level 1, right? So as soon as I place this from here to here, it's not going to say it's overlapping because I'm placing it on a different level, and you will see it actually come up on the elevation view. It's going to come up here as soon as I exit, right? So if I click tick, there we go. We have your floor placed on level 1. You can do the same thing on level 2. You can do the same thing on level 3. And you can move them up as well. Let's just say that I have this floor and I wanted to move it up to level 2 because I placed it in the wrong area. Well, if I click this and I click I want to host this on level 2, it's going to kick up to level 2, right? Same thing. If you want to go back down to ground floor, it's going to kick down to ground floor, but it'll tell you highlighted floors overlap. The reason is because you already have something on ground floor, right? So it'll be on top of ground floor. So again, you want to put this to level 1. So you have a floor on level 1, you have a floor on ground floor. Let's say that I wanted to have half of my slab is thicker and half of my slab is thinner, okay? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, let's just say that, okay, what's the thickness of this slab? If I go DI on my keyboard, I can find the dimension, go from here to here, 470. Let's just say that my slab, half of it needed to be thicker than that, or it needed to be, it needed to be like a different type of floor. How do I change that? Well, this is where different floor types come into play, right? So I can click this. And what you'll see is, since I'm on the ground floor, it's not actually a good idea to edit this on ground floor, because if you select this, you'll see that the bottom one is getting selected, but I want to edit the top one, right? But as soon as I select the top one on level 1, I'm not seeing it here. The reason is because I'm on the wrong floor plan. So what you want to do is you want to open your level 1 floor plan. So it opens and then you'll see, right? So this is very important. Whichever floor you want to edit, you want to make sure you're on the correct floor plan, right? So on level 1, what we can do is, instead of, let's just say that half of this I want it to be from A to B, I want it to be a certain thickness, and then from B to C, I want it to be another certain thickness. Well, we actually have to place 2 different floors, right? You can't edit the same floor and have 2 different thicknesses. So the way we can do that is, again, edit boundary, right? And we can draw let's see if this works. We can draw a line in between this and this. And hopefully what that'll do, okay, it'll say lines cannot intersect each other. Okay, the highlighted lines intersect. So that's not possible, right? Let's delete that. What we have to do is we have to place a different floor in a different command, right? So let's move this up into that floor. Click OK, and we've exited out of the floor command. We have to now open the floor command again. So we have to go to architecture, floor, and we're in a completely different floor command. Now we can place our rectangle again from here to here, right? Click OK, and you have two different floors. You have this, which is selectable, you can see, and you have this, which is selectable on the right side. So then if you want to make this thicker, you can select this, and you can go here and change the wall type, or the floor type rather, right? So you had this floor type, let's just say you want to change it to this. So now you have a thinner wall, or like a not as thick floor, right? Change it to this, becomes a little bit thicker. Change it to this, becomes the same. And you have these different floors that you can change it to, right? What you will see is on 3D view, you can't actually see anything. And the reason for that is because the view range, or the box that you can see things in, is only showing the floor on the lower level. So what you want to do is you want to click this box, which is called your section box, right? And you want to drag this up. As you drag it up, you'll start seeing what's on top. So you can see that, okay, there's a floor here, there's a floor here. Two different floors, but they are sort of different thicknesses, right? Let's just say that I want the same type of floor. So what's this floor? This is floor GRND. Okay, let's change it to that. So this is the same type of floor now, right? If I want to offset this floor by, let's just say that I want this floor to step up on top of this floor. How do I do that? Well, I can take this floor, I can use the move command, which is MV on the keyboard, or you can click this, right? You can select this, you can go up, you know, type 500 maybe. And what I want to do is I want it to go from here to here. But I want to make sure that they're aligned properly, right? How do I make sure they're aligned properly? I can use the align function on my keyboard, AL. So AL, I want to align it to this, and I want to align the bottom of this slab. So click this, and it's going to align, and they're both in line now, right? So that's perfect. What you'll see is this is starting to look like a slab where half the floor, you can walk here and then you can step up and you can walk on top of this, right? Because the slab is like stepping up. But you can't actually build a slab like this. You want it to have some sort of overbite over here. So the concrete, you can actually build this slab. So the way we would do that is on this floor plan. What's this? This is the top half of that slab, right? We would click edit boundary. Oops. Okay, again, click this, edit boundary, right? And you want to extend this down a little bit so that we're sitting on top of the other floor slab. So let's take this, we'll use the move command, click this, and we'll go down like 500, right? Click enter, click OK, and you'll see that this is sort of overhanging on top of this slab, right? What you want to do is you'll see that they're not really joined yet. We can actually join these two slabs by just clicking this and then clicking join geometry. You click this and you click this, and it's going to join those two, right? So as you can see, they look pretty joined, right? They look like they're one slab. They're not technically one slab, they're two different floors, right? But the geometry has allowed you to join it, and it looks as if on the Revit model, they've been joined together. So when you want to export this and send it to another subcontractor, when they link it into their Revit file as an engineer, they'll say, okay, the slab is stepping up and it's joined, right? So that's how you would go about trying to shift things around, join things, and everything like that. What we'll do now is we will actually model this, how we're meant to model this. So far, you pretty much know everything there is to do with floors. Oh, there's one more thing that I haven't showed you actually, and that's the composition of materials. This is enough for you to understand how to place floors on Revit, but if like a structural engineer gives you some information about, okay, the floor is actually this thick, then you need to be able to understand how to change the floor material, right? So how do we do that? Well, if you go back to ground floor slab, and let's just edit the slab on the bottom. Let's click this, right, which is the same as this. And you want to change this to a custom composition of a slab, right? So let's just say the slab had, the slab was like 100 mils or like 150 mils thick concrete, and then on the top you had a finish, right? You can think of it like a piece of bread, and then you spread some peanut butter on the top. You have the finishing on the top, which is peanut butter, which is a thin layer, but then you have a thick layer, which is like your piece of bread, right? So you have your piece of bread, which is your thick layer, your concrete slab, and you have the finishing on the top, which is like your peanut butter. Same thing in houses. You have a slab, which is concrete. You have a timber on top, right? You walk on the timber, but then underneath that, there's a structural element, which is the slab. So whatever the house or whatever the engineer will tell you, you will have to model it as with accordance to that. So if you select this and you click edit type, here you can actually edit what that floor type is. So if you select edit here, this is all the materials that that floor consists of, right? So you can click this and you can put it into your core layer. You can put it underneath your core layer. This might look intimidating, but what this is you have your core boundary, you have your core boundary, right? Anything in the middle is like your structural layer, right? So like the piece of bread. Anything on the top of that, all these are going to be like the peanut butter or the Nutella that you spread on top. Anything underneath here, if you place something underneath here, is going to be, you don't really put anything underneath a piece of bread, but if you were a serial killer, then that would be anything that goes underneath on the below the slab, right? In big commercial projects like hospitals, there's usually insulation below the slab. So the easiest way to model this, if there's insulation at the bottom of the whole slab, is just by adding a layer underneath here and saying insulation, having 50 mils thick insulation, and then changing the material, right? Okay, that might be confusing, but all I want you to understand is you can change the composition of materials once you select this edit button, right? But you don't want to change the composition of materials of already existing families. You want to create a new one. So if you create duplicate, you're going to be able to name it as, you know, slab with timber, because that's what we want to have in our house, or slab with wood finish. Click OK, and then now you can, what it's done is it's duplicated it. So now you can edit this and you can change all your materials without it actually changing what we had initially in the project. So people actually want the families that you've loaded in your project. When you start working in an architectural engineering firm, you don't want to edit what they have already in Revit. You want to duplicate it, create a new name, and then take the properties and maybe edit it and save it, right? So that the existing ones don't go away. So what we'll do is you can click one of these and you can click delete and keep clicking delete until you just have one thing on the top. You can take one of these things and you can go down and it's going to push it down below this core boundary. So this is what I was talking about. You have a piece of bread, you have peanut butter on the top, and then you have nothing on the bottom, or you can put something. In this case, if there was a slab, you can have insulation on the bottom of that slab, right? In our case, we don't want to have anything on the bottom. We know that we don't have insulation in houses on the bottom, so we delete this. So we have your structure in the middle, right? And let's say you want to edit the material. Let's click this, and it's going to open up your material stuff. So I can maybe write concrete, and then you can select what material you want. I'm not really a structural engineer, so I'm just going to go, okay, concrete. It's going to be 135 mils, right? It's going to be structural. That's the structural element. And then, okay, I want to add something on the top, but I want to add a finish on the top. So you have finish 1 and finish 2. Finish 1 is what goes on the top, right? Finish 2 is what goes on the bottom. So if you had finish 2 here, I would go down, 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 and then I'll put it on the bottom. But up, 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 because over here I have finish 1, right? The material is going to be like wood. So we'll type in wood, click enter. Wood planks or wood, just say wood. I don't care what type of wood. But then you have a thickness of 15, right? So if you combine this with this, what is that? 135 plus 15, that's 150. So you have 150 thick floor because you have a 135 slab and then you have 15 mils of wood on top of it. If I click OK now, if I click OK again, you'll see that this slab with wood finish has been loaded into the project, if you sort of try to zoom, you can't zoom in, but if you try to look carefully, you'll see, okay, it's a slab, and then there's a small piece of like wood strip, like peanut butter on the top. So then what we can do is we can select this, you can right click this, you can go, if you go select all instances in the entire project, it's only gonna select that one, right? So I'm trying to select every single floor. Let's just say that I had another floor which was placed, and I want to make sure that all the floors in my Revit project are changing to this wood finish. What I can do is I can, let's change this back to what it was before, which was this, right? If I select this and I right click this and I go select all instances in entire project, it's going to now select this floor, this floor, this floor. If I had a floor up here, it would select that as well, because I modeled them all as the same, I modeled them all with the same floor initially, right? Now you can change this to slab with wood finish and it will change everything, right? What you'll see is, since we had a floor which was on top of the other and we joined them together, it says highlighted elements are joined but do not intersect. So it'll give you like an error warning, and what you can now do is you can go and you can align these two together. You can go here, AL. So if you click AL on your keyboard, you click this, and it'll align, right? So they'll be joined together. But I don't actually want to do that, because I know with the project that we're building, which is this house, we just have a floor here and they have a floor here. So what I'll just do is I'll go here and I'm just going to delete one of them, and I'm going to click this, I'm going to click edit boundary, I'm just going to pull this up. Alright, so now you have a floor here and you have a floor here. So our two floors have been placed. What you'll notice is that you want to change the composition of different materials, right? Because if you look at our floor plan, it makes sense that in our first floor you have wood for everything. That's fine. You have wood finish on the whole floor. In the living room, in the dining room, in the kitchen, even the pantry, that's fine. The toilet, you might not want to have a wood finish, right? In the second floor, once you go up the stairs, you probably have carpet in the whole of the second floor. You have carpet here in each of the rooms. You have tiles in the master bedroom, sort of the master bathroom. You have tiles in the bathrooms for these two bedrooms as well. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're placing different floors which have different materials in the bathrooms, in the foyer, in the bedrooms, right? And this is where this material composition stuff comes into play. Because, okay, if we go to now level 1, what you'd want to do is you'd want to look at this and say, okay, well, let's just say that the whole of level 1 is going to be carpet except for your bathrooms. So you want to make sure that you've placed a different floor here and a different floor here which has tile in them, right? And there's an additional thing. We've placed two floors here really quickly, like floor here and a floor here. But you'll realize that you don't actually have a floor when you go up your stairs. So you want to have a look and actually look at this and try to understand, okay, this is 2100 from that wall. You're going up your stairs up here. From that wall, this is 2100, which is like 2 meters, right? You want to make sure that you're emitting that as a floor, because you don't actually have a floor there, right? So there's a small box or a small section over here in between those, in between that grid line. Maybe it's around, 2.5 meters. That is not going to have a floor, and that's going to be for your staircase. So let's go back and let's edit that. So in level 1, if you go down here, you can click edit boundary, and I know that there's going to be something emitted, sort of, it's going to look something similar to this. So let me just place that first. Okay, it doesn't matter if you have different things come up, like that small error that came up, because I'm just going to edit this now, right? So what I want to have is, I want to have this from here, this, let's take a look at this, all right? Let me leave this up here. This is around 1.7, 1.879. So it's around 2 meters in the distance. Let's make this rough, right? So 2 meters in the distance. Right now this is 3. So let me pull this back and make this around 2 meters. If I write 200, it's going to pull it back, right? Click this again. What else do we have? This is like another 2 meters. So let's take this, let's move this down here, make this 2000, right? So that's going to be like your staircase. You might want to make it a bit bigger actually from the grid line. Make it like 2.5. And then let's see how long that is. So that's going to be up until sort of that grid line, right? It's going to go past it just slightly. So we can take this, we can pull this just past that grid line slightly. And what I want to do now is if I click exit, it's going to place another floor here. So I want to actually get rid of this line over here. Select this and select delete. And I want to cut this line. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can pull this back here, right? It doesn't matter. You can just click unjoin elements, and then you can add another line from here to here. That's one way to do it. Or let me just control Z, what I just did. So you're back at this area. You can use the trim command. So if you type in TR on your keyboard, right, is a trim command. So this is going to allow you to trim bits and pieces of lines. The first thing you click is what you're going to use to cut, right? So let's click this. I'm going to use this to cut. The second thing you're going to click is where it's going to cut, what line it is actually going to cut. So if you click this now, on this side, it's going to cut everything after that, okay? So unjoin elements, and then what you can do is, then you can select a line again, and click this, and add them together, right? Click OK, and you'll see that it sort of cut out that section, and that makes sense. Because then we can add a staircase from down here, which goes like this, and then to the top, right? So we've edited our floor. What I can do now is, let's just say that, let's go back to our floor plan. I want to add this bathroom over here, right? This bathroom is like 3.755. Let's just make it like 3.8 meters, right? That's between this second block, so 2 and 3. So when you go to blocks 2 and 3, you want the bathroom to be something like this, and then you have like 2 meter, you have a 2 meter long closet in here. So we can go here, you can go edit boundary, and you want to draw some lines in, because you know that over here we're going to have some tiles. So we draw some lines in here, and then we can what we can do is we can use the trim tool, TR. This is what I'm cutting, and then I'm trimming this. This is probably easier. I'm just going to pull this back here, do a line from here to here, right? And I click OK. That's gone, right? That's gone. And I'm going to put my bathroom in there. But the thing is, I don't want it to just be an empty space. I want to put a floor in. So then I go back to my architecture tab, and I go floor, architectural floor, and I can click boundary line, click a rectangle, go from here to here, click OK, and it's going to put that generic floor in that we had before. But what I can do now is I can edit this to put tile on it, right? So let's just go edit type. Let's change this to wood finish, because I want it to be the same thickness. I just want to change the top, the finish. So edit type, let's duplicate it, because you don't want to actually change everything. And then we're going to go slab with, not wood finish, we're going to go tile finish, right? And then we're going to go edit, expand this. This can be concrete, that's fine, because remember, that's a piece of bread. All we're changing is the topping. Is it going to be Nutella or peanut butter? So we'll go here, and we'll go, instead of wood, we'll click this, and we'll type in tile and see if we actually have one. You can load these in, but so you have ceiling tile, okay, you don't have anything. So marble, what if we type in bathroom? Okay, so if you don't have anything in here, what you can actually do is you can create a new material, or you can add any new materials. For now, I'm just going to put in a different type of wood, right? Oak flooring. I'm going to pretend that's a tile, and we'll add this tile in finish later. Click OK. Click OK. And so now that's sort of denoting that we have an area over there, which is going to be the bathroom. Let's check to see what the distance is between that grid line and that. 1.7. If you go back to here, you'll see you'll need to be like 2 meters. So let's take this and let's edit that boundary. Let's pull it up to get around 2 meters. Click OK. But you want to make sure that when you edit one boundary, the other boundary also gets edited. So you have to place it on top. Yeah? So if you want to find that, it's like 2 meters. So you have like your bedroom over here, which is that, right? And you walk in here, which is like your closet. You have your bathroom over here, right? And there's going to be a wall which separates those two. But what we've done is we've made the bathroom a different material. So this one is slab with tile finish, and we've made this slab with wood finish, right? What I'll do is I'll continue to change all of these floors, right? So we know that we have different rooms, and we have bedrooms, and we have the hallway. That's all going to be carpet. We just have bathrooms, and you have a master bathroom over here, which is going to be tile. So I'm going to create different floor slabs for this bathroom and this master bathroom and this master bathroom over here. And I'm going to show that in Revit. I'm going to put a temporary sort of, I know it says floor slab with tile finish, right? But I'm just going to create that temporarily, and I'm going to edit that later, and I'm going to put in a tile texture so you can actually visually see it. But for now, what we'll do is we will go over here and we'll create our master bathroom, which takes up 4 meters, right? It's like a 4 meter big bathroom. So that floor slab is going to be, or that floor is going to be around 4 meters. And this is all going to be tile, right? You have a walk-in closet on the side here, but that doesn't matter. So if we go back down here, what I just noticed actually is that my staircase is way too big, right? If you look at how we have our floor plan, the staircase is only meant to go sort of from here to that next grid line, but I've just extended it a whole 6 meters extra. So let's actually edit that. Let's click edit boundary and just pull this back so it's around here. Click OK. And let's also edit this so we can have our master bathroom in here. So that master bathroom is going to be just underneath in that 1, 2, 3 third box. 1, 2, 3 in that third box over here, right? So if we go edit boundary, we will be able to pull this back and then start with a line, go around sort of here, just go rough first so you have the outline, and then you can sort of try to see what this distance is going to be from here. So you can click DI, you can find the dimension from here to here. It's like 1.8. Let's have a look at what this distance is over here. It's like 1.6. You have like a thickness of the wall as well. So as long as this is around 4 meters from here to here, then I will be happy. So if you go DI again on the keyboard, go from here to here, it's around 4 meters. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll take this, escape, right? You take this and you pull this down. Actually, I won't do that. I'll click this and I'll go MV and I'll move this down 200 because I want to make it accurate. Click enter, and then, okay, so this is going to be your bathroom over here. If you click OK, it just cuts it out. So what you want to do is then go back to architecture, floor, add another floor there. So boundary line, you want to add this floor from here to here. You want to make sure that that floor is going to be the slab with the tile finish. Click OK. So now you have that. Well, obviously you know that that floor and that floor is not actually with a tile finish because we haven't edited it. It's just with a wood finish, but we called it slab with tile finish. But I just want to make sure we get majority of the difference is done first. So everything is going to be carpet over here. You have a bathroom, which is going to be tile, a bathroom here, which is going to be tile. So everything looks perfect actually. The one thing I did want to do is I want to change the floor type of this to be something else. So this, what you'll notice is that on the ground floor, you can have a wood finish. But when you get to level 1, you have tile in this bathroom, you have tile in this bathroom, but you have carpet everywhere else. So you want to edit this type, duplicate, and let's change this to carpet finish, right? Carpet. And we'll go okay. And for now, we'll just keep that, right? And that's going to be 3 different types. You have this, if you click the ground floor, slab with wood finish. You have this, slab with tile finish. That's also slab with tile finish. You have this, which is slab with carpet finish. One more thing, right? This is the last thing I promise, is that if you go back to your floor plan on your first floor, your second, you go back to your first floor, you'll notice that we have a story. Oh, there we go. Your ground floor, you enter the house here and you have everything which is wood. That's perfect. If you go over here, you have a toilet here, you have a pantry here, and you can extend that pantry into a storage utility. So this is all going to be wood, that's fine, but this toilet needs to be tile. So we need to now change this, and we have like a 1.6 or 1.7 by 3.5 thing over there in your ground floor. So go back to your ground floor, and what we're going to do, just to be able to see things a bit more clearly, is I want to overlay on my ground floor anything on my first floor, right? So the way you can overlay is by on your ground floor, you can go down here and you have this thing called underlay, right? So this underlay, you can select what you want to underlay pretty much on this view. So if I go level 1, you'll see that in a very faint line, you have the cutouts of the floors that we made. Bathroom 1, bathroom 2, the staircase. So you can actually have a look at what's on the above level to make changes and use it as reference to the below level, because we know that the staircase is going to run like this. And that staircase means that we don't want to have a floor there, right? Or we do want to have a floor actually. But we'll leave the floor for now, but we know that we have a staircase there which goes up, and we have a toilet which is going to be sort of going all the way up here, right? What we want to do now is what I realized is actually, if you go to your second floor, this staircase probably needs to finish before that grid line. I don't know why I extended it past the grid line, but that staircase finishes at that grid line, because if you look at the ground floor, that staircase is just to the left of that grid line. So we can go back to our level 1, we can go over here, we can select this, edit boundary, we can pull this back, right? Click OK. If we go to our ground floor again, that's going to be modified now on our ground floor. So now what we can do is on this floor, on ground floor, we can edit this boundary, and we can use this as a template in order to cut things out or add things in. So I can now go over here and change the floor to something else, right? So what I want to do is first I want to cut out a piece which is within this floor. So the way that I cut out a piece of this floor is by going into the floor in the first place and placing another floor on top of it. If you do that, it's going to cut out that floor piece. As you can see, it cut it out, right? What you want to do is then make that toilet 3.5 big by like 1.7 wide, so roughly. So we'll go back to that edit boundary and we'll see what the dimensions are. So we'll see, this is like we'll make this like 1 800, and we'll make this from here to here. This is 3.5. Yeah, that looks good, right? So then we can click OK, and that's going to cut it out. But just because we cut it out, we need to add now a tile in. So we go back to floor, and then we can click boundary line, select this, go from here to here, and this is going to be tile finish. Click enter, and now you have a tile there. So that's going to be your bathroom over there. It's got a tile in the middle. You have the wood on the outside, and that makes sense. Let's have a look again. On the ground floor, everything is going to be wood. You have a toilet, which is going to be tile. You have a pantry, wood. You go up, all right? We're going to do the stairs and railings in the next video. Then you go to the next level. You come up out of there, and you have carpet everywhere here. You have a bedroom. You have tiles here. That's where we added those tiles in. You have the master bathroom. Added the tiles in there. In the shower, everything. And that looks good for now, to be honest. We can change small things, like if there's a shower, we can get rid of the tile there and put whatever is there later on. But for now, this looks good, right? Balconies, we'll add that later. So this is all there is to do with floors. We can edit different floors. We can use underlays in order to see anything which is above or below in different levels. We can change our floors. We can cut things out of floors. We can depress floors. We can increase floors, the height, right? And you can change the materials. What I want to do now is the last thing before we go is I want to change the materials and add some textures to these different floors, because I did change the floor type, but they were all the same, and I just changed the title of the floor, right? So what I want to do now is actually edit each of those types. So now you'll see what the difference is. When I go to edit type and I change the composition of this floor, if I click OK and actually change this from oak flooring to tile finish, right? If I can load in a tile finish from the internet and I click OK, that's going to change this floor, but it's also going to change this floor and this floor, because remember, they're all the same type: tile finish, tile finish, tile finish. So this is a scenario where you'd want to change, instead of duplicating, because duplicating will just change this one by itself, you want to change everything together. So what we'll do now is we'll go to edit type, and we'll go, instead of duplicating, we'll edit the actual structure here. And it says oak flooring, but remember, we want to change this to tile. And I tried to type in tile before and we couldn't find any, right? We only found ceiling tiles, which is what goes on the ceiling in office buildings. So what we want to do is we actually want to take some random thing, and we're going to do the same thing. And I want to, so what are these options? Creates, opens, and edits. Creates and duplicates materials. Creates, opens asset browser. So what I want to do is I actually want to create a new material, right? I want to, you can either duplicate one which is existing or create a new one, but I'll just create a new material, and it's going to come up with all this information, and you can type it on the side here. Default new material. Let's change this to tile, right? You have this description. I'm pretty lazy, so I'm just going to type in tile. You have different classes that you want to put this into, like what's the type of it? Is it stone? Is it like is it a wood? Is it a ceramic? Like what type of, maybe it's a ceramic tile, right? You have keywords. This is like whenever you search something, it's going to come up. It's going to be tile, ceramic, things like that. Keywords, same thing. Whenever you search it, it's going to come up. You have information about the manufacturer, the cost. This is going to be helpful with cost schedules if you're using Revit to find the total cost of a house. If you make sure that you set everything up properly with the proper material, it's going to make it much easier for you to get an estimate for how much it's going to cost, right? And then this is in the identity tab. In the graphics tab, you can actually go and you can change what it looks like, right? In this appearance tab, if you go here to image, then you can go to, you know, wherever you saved your texture. If you just type in Honestly, if you type in on Google Revit tile texture, there's going to be a million which come up. You download one of them, put it in your downloads file. You click this image over here. You go to your downloads file over here, and then you click that. It's going to come up with a tile texture, right? Let me just do that quickly so you understand. Let's open. I'll do this with you so it's easy for you. Okay, Google Revit tile texture. Change this to JPEG. There we go. BIM object. Okay, so in bimobject.com you can type in you can go to file type, select JPEG, because you can select JPEG easily, right? Okay, I want a dark tile in my bathroom, so let's go download, and it's going to ask you what do you want to download. So deselect all, just this texture, okay, this looks nice, high resolution. Download selection, it's going to download that. It's in my downloads folder now. So if I go back here, click image, go down to my downloads, then I have that one. All right, so you have that tile, and you can change the glossiness and stuff like that, edit everything, but you have this thing called tile, and you have a texture associated with it, and you click OK, and so now you have a tile, right? Let's edit this again and see. I created this thing called tile. If you go to appearance, that texture is saved, right? So that's good that we've created that tile thing. If I click OK again, I've changed my tile successfully into a dark tile. As you can see, this has changed, and this has changed, right? There's one more thing I want to do, carpet. Okay, so let's go back into bimobject.com. Let's type in carpet, click enter. I want to make sure that I'm only selecting JPEG. Maybe I want like a dark carpet in my house. So let's download that and deselect all. I just want like a high resolution JPEG. Let's go for the first one. So we've downloaded that. That's going to download. So if we go back and then we select this upper level, we can change this carpet to, oops, edit type, edit this. This is wood. So we have to change this to carpet. Remember how we tried to type in carpet before and nothing came up? Well, okay, so what we'll do is we'll create a new material and we'll make it our own. So it says default new material. That's in identity data. We'll change this to carpet, C-A-R-P-E-T. And then you can put your description in like I did before. I can't be bothered. So I'll go to appearance here, click image, and in my downloads, you have that thing that you just downloaded from the internet. Click OK. Click OK again, click OK. That should make it darker. There we go. Okay, so you have proof that this is a carpet, this is a dark tile, this is a dark tile, and you have a wood finish, right? And this will be visible properly when we start rendering everything. So you'll be able to see the nice tile finish, you'll see the carpet, you'll see the wood finish, and then we can change and play around with the scale and everything when we get to that stage. But for now, I want you to understand there's a difference between duplicating and there's a difference between editing type that already exists, right? You can change materials and add new materials. You can change the composition by selecting a floor and changing the structure. You have a core boundary which has the meat of the thing, which is like your sandwich, your piece of bread. You have your toppings, which is like your Nutella or pretty much like your peanut butter. Then you have maybe on the bottom you have like insulation, but we don't have it in this house. And you can cut things out in slabs. You can add more slabs into your floor plan, right? You can do all these different things. You can underlay, so you can use it as reference. You can use dimensions, and you can I just want you to understand that these are the basics of building and changing floors. What we'll do is we can put the walls and start putting your railing and stairs in and start making this look like a real house in the coming videos. So far, what we've done is we've placed our floors and we've edited our floors in a way that we have different openings for stairs and we have different types of floors for different rooms in our model, right? And what I want to do now is, according to my architectural model, I want to add a staircase from the ground floor all the way to level 1, right? So let me create this view in a way that you can actually see this properly. I'll create a 3D view, place it on the side here. I'll take my east elevation and I'll place it up the top here. And you have your floor plan. So the easiest way to add stairs in Revit is to actually just go to the architecture tab and you'll see an option under circulation called stair, right? If you click that, it'll open your modify, create stair option box. And what we can do is we can just place our stairs now. So there's different options in order to place our stairs. As you can see, you have this location line run and it says center. You can change this to left, right, or center, right? Those are the main ones. And what this is it allows you to place the stairs in a certain way. So I'm placing the stairs considering the cursor to be the center of the stairs right now. So if I place it, you'll see that it's placing it with the cursor to be the center of the stairs, right? Let's just click escape. What if I change this to left? Well, that's good for me because then I can use the outside of the floor as sort of an outline and I can place my staircase based on that. Right? If I do right, it's going to place it on the other side of the floor, right? Or I might want to do it on this side as well. So those are the different options that you have in order to place stairs. I'm going to click left so I can place it using the floor, right? I'm using this floor, the side of this floor, as sort of a tracing paper for me to place my stair, right? You will see that there's different types of stairs. So you can go to your properties, you can click this and you have, in my version of Revit, you have a private staircase, you have a commercial fire escape staircase, and you have a residential left saddled staircase. What I'll do is I'll just do like a private staircase for now and then we'll edit our staircase, right? So with left, you'll see that when you start placing your, so let's just say that this is the point I want to place it at. Let's click and let's start dragging. You'll see that it says on the side, as I move my mouse, 9 rises created, 10 rises created, 11, 12, 13. And it'll tell you the amount of rises that you need. It gives you an outline. You can go all the way to the end and that's how many rises you need in order to go from one level to the other, right? If you want to go the other way, it's the same thing. It'll tell you the amount of rises that you need. It's always going to be 24. And the reason it's going to be 24 is because that's what it says on the properties. Okay. So since it's 24, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 12 here. I'm going to click, right? And then I'm going to start again from the other side. But this time I'm going to go, oh yeah, I'm going to do left offset again. And what I'll do is I'll go all the way up here and I'll place another 12, right? And as you can see, you've placed the staircase from level, that ground floor, all the way to level 1. So you go up the stairs, you walk, and then you go up the stairs again. And as you can see, it says 1, stair 12, stair 13, stair 24, okay? Let's talk about the different amounts of stairs that you need in order to get from one level to another. Revit actually does this automatically when you want to place a stair. So let's say that I want to place a stair. Again, let's actually get rid of that. Let's delete that. Delete this. Oh. Delete this and delete this. And let's place the stair again. Right? So if I click run, I can place a run of stairs. I can actually change this desired number of rises. I can change this to whatever I want. I can change this to 22, right? I can change this to 20. And if I change it to different numbers, what it's going to do is it might give you a warning. The actual riser height of stair is greater than the maximum riser height specified in the stair type. What this means is, in order to calculate how many stairs we need the stair, it goes this way, which is where you put your foot on, and then it goes up, right? In our type, for our type of stair, we say the maximum riser height and the maximum tread depth. Okay, so riser is going up. It's how much you go up before you place your foot again. The tread depth is how big the platform is for you to place each of your feet and continue going upwards, right? So you can specify in your type of stair what is the maximum riser height, 170, and what is the maximum tread depth, 250. And you're going to set this up based on your standards, your rules and regulations in your specific country. If you have a standard saying that you can't have it above 170, you can't have the riser height above 170 because it might be a tripping hazard or something, then you can set it up in your Revit sort of family here. And that's why it says, when I want to specify this as number of risers as 20, it's saying that, okay, if you want to have 20 risers, right, it's 20 steps, what happens is your actual riser height goes to 200. We only can have 170 as the maximum. Do you want to place 200 as your riser height, right? So that's what it's saying. And what you'll see is, even if you continue to place your stair after that sort of warning, you're still able to do it. You can place your stair like this, and it'll say that you're placing 20 stairs, right? 20 risers created. You can see that on the screen. Maybe you can do 10 risers, and you can do the same thing again. You can do another 10 over here. So in this case, as you can see, there's less steps. There's 10 up to here, and then there's another 10. But the riser height, which is essentially just this height from here to here, is actually much larger than what it was before, right? So you can click this, and you can edit. You can delete it. Let's say I want to delete all of this, and you can place it again by clicking run. You can change this to 24 like it was before, right? And then you can go 12, and then you can go 12, right? You don't have to do it as 2. I like to have this as an even number. You'll realize that I chose 24, 22, 20 to show you before. The reason is, if you have an even number, you can place 10, and then you can place another 10, and it'll be very easy to model things. If you have like 23, then you have to place 10 and 11, right? Or that's 21. But if you have 23, you'll have to place like 12 and 11, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. You want to have an even number of risers if you want it to be easy for you to model. And you have your tread depth, which is 250, and you have your riser height, which it calculates based on, you know, the parameters that we specify. In this case, it's 166. So as you can see, this height is less than what it was before. Before it was 200, now it's 166, which is less than the 170, which is the maximum we've specified, right? And that's according to the specifications in our country, in our area. Okay, so we've got the main things of the riser out of the way and the staircase out of the way. Once you click enter, right, you'll see some railings are added in, right? And then there's, like, you can see on the floor plan, there's some staircase here. You can see on the elevation view, some staircase, and you can see some railings. You can actually delete these railings if you want. You can click it, you can select delete, right, using your keyboard, or you can have them in. It's up to you. So if there is a wall, right, so we're actually going to model a wall in on the back over here. We actually don't need this railing because we know there's going to be a wall on the side here, there's going to be a wall on the back here, and a wall on the side here. But we probably do need the railing on this side because we want there to be some sort of rail so we don't fall, right? So we'll keep that in for now. What we can do now is, I want to show you some sort of different options that we have with stairs and how to edit these stairs so that we can, you know, make them look better if you wanted to. So with these stairs, what you can do is, let's just place another set of stairs so I can show you this easier. So let's go to a corner here, and let's place a staircase. So if you click stair, let's go like this left straddled staircase, and we're going to place it from here. Oh, I'm going to click run. Yeah, okay. I'm going to place it from like here to here, right? So you see there's a staircase that we placed. If you click enter, you've placed this staircase, right? I'm just doing this for illustration purposes so you can understand about stairs quickly before we move on to the next part. I want you to have a quick overview of everything you need to know about stairs, right? Because technically, we've done the modeling. This is all you need to place stairs, right? But I'll show you some things, some tips and tricks that you need to know about placing stairs so that you can get majority of the information without having to go back to YouTube later, right? So if you click the stair, you can edit the stair type, you can duplicate it and create a new one, or you can, we talked about this, the riser height, you can change the riser height and the depth like maximum, right? That it gives you an error with. You can come here and you can change your right support. So you have a right support and a left support. You can say that you can have no supports on the right, you can have no supports on the left, you can have a middle support, right? What's that going to do? As you can see, it got rid of the right, it got rid of the left, and then there's sort of a support which is going along the middle. So you might have seen staircases that are like floating and then it's supported on the middle, right? So let's just say we click OK. Let's get rid of this and let's get rid of this. So we have like a floating staircase, right? This is how you'd make a floating staircase. You have it supported along the middle from the bottom to the top, and you can get rid of the right support and the left support because you're supporting it from the middle, right? What you can do is you can also edit your type. In your run type, you have different things that you can edit it to. You can click, you have tread and riser, right? What happens if we get rid of our riser? Click OK. You'll see it got rid of that riser. So this is like a really elegant looking staircase. Okay, so in your run type, again, what I did was I clicked edit and I got rid of my riser. Let's add that riser back in. As you can see, that riser was added back in. Let's get rid of that riser. And this is probably what you've seen in some offices or in some buildings where they have sort of a middle support and they have no supports on the side and it's just a staircase. And they might have a railing on the side to hold as you're going up, but it's supported from the middle. There's no rise on this side, there's no rise on that side, and it's supported from the middle, right? So the way that you would do that again is just by editing, turning this middle support on, editing this, and you can turn your riser on or off. So let's turn it back on. And let's get rid of this middle support, right? So now we just have a staircase. Let's just say that you wanted to add your left and right supports back. Well, then you'd go here and then you'd write you can add your right support and you can add your left support. You can click OK and it'll add those supports back, right? So those are the really basic things that you can do to change the options within the stair family. You can get rid of the right supports, the left supports, delete the railings, add a middle support, delete the tread so it looks like an elegant floating staircase. And these are the basic things that you need to understand in order to get a majority of the knowledge with regards to placing stairs in Revit. I'll show you one last trick, and this is if you have like an office building. If you have an office building with a lot of different elevations and levels, let me delete this first. Let's say that we had 100 levels, and I'm not going to create 100 levels, but what I'll do is I'll copy this, and I know this is 4,000 from here to here. So let me go up and let's go 4,000, and then we'll go another 4,000, right? And we'll go another 4,000. And I want to, let's just say, I'll delete these levels later, but what I want to do is I want to automate this process of this staircase all the way up, because I have a staircase that is like, like the emergency fire staircase, which is going all the way up to the top of the story. The way I could do that and automate this process easily is by going here and selecting the staircase, right? Edit stairs. Oh, not sorry. Select the staircase again, and then select levels, multi-story stairs, right? And there's an option which says connect levels. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to highlight all these things and then select connect levels. And if you click OK, it's going to automate the whole process and then set up that whole thing so that you have a stairwell, right? It's like a riser of stairs going all the way to the top. So that's how you do it if you want to add this staircase that you create on like the ground level. You create the stair that you would want it to look like, and then you can automate that whole process going all the way to the top, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that. So I'm going to delete all the levels because This is just modeling a house, right? So in summary, I showed you how to place stairs. I showed you the different options regarding stairs. We then talked about modifying the basic properties of stairs, you know, right support, middle support, making it look more elegant, having floating stairs, changing the type of stairs, right? We talked about the different rules and regulations that you might have for stair heights, like the risers and the treads, and how you can edit those so it gives you a warning when you exceed that. How to change the number of stairs. And then we talked about automating the process for an office building and creating a stairwell, or like a riser of stairs that has stairs all the way. If you have 100 floors, you can do 100 floors of stairs just in one simple click, right? What we'll do in the next video is we'll move on to modeling the next part of the house, which is most likely going to be the walls, and start to bring everything together to make it start to look like a house. So far what we've done is we've modeled up our floors and we've modeled our staircase in the previous videos, right? What we'll do now is we'll actually model our floors into, not our floors, our walls around these floors, right? So let me pull this 3D view out and put it to the side again so we can actually see it in real time as we're doing it. Snap it into place here. Oh, didn't work. And then we'll take our east elevation and we'll do the same thing. Up there. There we go. So we have east elevation over here, we have a 3D view here, and we have a floor plan here. I usually like to work with 3 views so I can see what's happening at the same time that I'm actually doing the thing. So what we'll do is, the easiest way to place a floor is by going to the architecture, or a wall rather, and going to the wall command here. So it's WA on the keyboard. If you want to type that, it will open an architectural wall. The reason I say that is because if you do the drop down, there's 2 types. Architectural and structural, right? A structural wall is going to be if you have like a foundation which goes around the house on the bottom, which is going to sort of carry the whole weight of the house, you'd use a structural wall. If you want just a normal wall, like a partition in the house, like I have in my room here, or brickwork outside the whole house, you use a normal architectural wall. So what we'll do is I'll start off with the architectural wall, and then we'll add our foundation wall in at the bottom, because remember we have a foundation layer here. So I'm going to add a wall in over there all around the house, but we'll start off with a normal wall which is going to span all the way from ground floor to level 2, right? So architectural wall, there we go. So when we select a wall, I usually work on a floor plan, like a plan view, in this case ground floor plan, we're going to use that. And you'll see that you have, again, modify, place wall, and you have different options here. You have a line, you have a rectangle, and this is just like a floor slab. You know, you can start at the top and you can go all the way around, and you can place individual walls like this and go down, right? And then join them eventually. Or let's click escape and Control Z, or you can just do a rectangle and you can place the whole wall in one go just by doing that, right? Let's do Control Z. And as you can see, there's a few options which are coming up. I did undo so I can tell you about these options. The first thing and the most important thing is look at this location line. It says wall center line. If you drop down here, you'll see wall center line, core center line, finish face exterior, interior, core face, exterior, and interior. There's a lot of options here, but you need to understand what each one of them actually are or is, right? So if we zoom in, what you'll see is if I place a wall with the wall center line, which is originally what is selected as default, when I go to place my wall here, so let's just do a line and go place a wall, you'll see that it's actually placing it in the middle, right? So the middle is where I'm specifying where it's being placed. And you will see that it says wall center line. So the center line of that wall is what's going to be placed, right? If you do this and you go, let's just say that I want to place it with the outer edge of the wall, right? I want to place the outer edge of the wall in alignment with the outer edge of the floor slab which I created. So I go finish face exterior, and if I do that, then that makes sense, right? Because then your outer edge is aligning with the finish face. That makes sense, right? Let's click escape, and then you can do the same thing, finish face interior, and that's just gonna rotate that around, right? So then your brick is gonna be on the outside and it's going to be offset on the floor, so it doesn't really make sense, but these are the different options you have. You will notice that there's a core center line, a core exterior, and a core interior. Let's do core exterior. What you'll notice is that there is if I move this on an offset, you'll see there's 1, 2, 3 sort of sections in that wall, okay? So the core, think about whenever you say core, it's the main structural element, okay? I'll give you an example. Right now we're in a room. You can see that there's sort of plasterboard on the walls. It's not brick, it's plasterboard. But you know, inside the wall, there's some structural element. There's either some brick, or there's some timber, or there's some metal studs, or there's some concrete, or there's something inside which is actually keeping the wall up, some structural element. And on the outside is where we have the plaster, and then we paint on top of that, right? So if you place this wall here, you'll see that the middle, or like whatever's in the middle, you can sandwich it on the outside, and then whatever's in the middle is the structural layer. This is what's giving the wall the structure and enabling it to actually be there in the room, right? As we construct it. So whenever you say where the core face is going to be the exterior, what we're saying is that internal structural layer, you can either place the exterior of that structural layer in alignment, or you can place the interior of that structural layer, right? Which is just going to be that core face just before we have the finish, right? So what you'll see is you'll actually be able to edit this inside your edit type. So let's go back to the wall command, and in this edit type, you have in the properties, first of all, you have different types of walls that you can have. You can have, you know, external walls over here. If it says EXT, it's usually like an external wall. If it says FND, it's like a foundational wall, which we'll add in. If it says partition, it's a partition wall, which is what we usually place inside the house, right? And those are like the 3 main types of walls that you probably need to be concerned about. So let's look at the type. If you click edit type here, you can go to structure, edit, and you can actually see here all the different materials and the layers that are inside that wall. So with that wall, we had a structural layer, which was actually concrete. Like it was a concrete masonry unit, low density, sort of like it's concrete in the middle. That is the structure, right? And then on the outside, we have plaster, which is 12.5 millimeters thick, right? That's where you paint. That's what you paint, because that's what we see. And then on this side, which is the outside of the house, you have brick, and then you have fiberglass bats. What does that mean? Okay, so let me take a screenshot of this so I can actually show you this when we... Okay, so I'm going to pull this up and show you when we actually place this wall so you understand what this is. When you place a wall like this, right, you'll see, and let's turn this into realistic, you'll see that there's different components, right? Let me bring this back. What are these different components? So you have your finish, which is your outside, that's your brick, as you can see, very obvious. Then you have a thermal air layer, which is your fiberglass bat. That's going to be somewhere over here. It's 75 thick, right? And what that is it's just a layer where you have your insulation in between the brick and in between the concrete masonry unit, right? And then you have some concrete, which is over here. That's your concrete. That's the structure. And then on the outside, you just have your plaster. And this is your core layer, right? This is your core layer. It's not what's in the middle, because this is just your fiberglass insulation, your air layer. This is your structural layer. So then the external and then the internal structural layer, this is going to be your internal structural layer. This is going to be your external structural layer, right? So then based on that, you can actually place your walls. A little bit complicated, but if you look at it in regards or in terms of looking at the materials and you understand, okay, there's a structural layer, then there's things on the outside of the house and on the inside of the house, then you'll be able to edit this. And you know that there might be insulation, there might be bricks, there might be plaster, which you paint on, there might be some concrete, which is the structure, and you have different types of things. The engineer will give you the instruction about what the wall is going to be like. All you have to do is then go into this, click edit type, duplicate this, right? Name it another name, and then you can edit everything inside here. You can save it as whatever you want, and then you can click apply, and then you can start placing your walls, right? It's exactly the same way that we did with placing our floors. You have to do the same thing with walls. Since we already did that in the previous video, I'll save you some time. I'm not going to do that. We're going to use the families which Revit gives us to save some time, because I don't want to come up with brand new wall types in my head, right? So let's change this from realistic back to what it was, which I believe it was either hidden line or shaded. So I'll just do hidden line. And let's delete this wall, right? Again, let's place the architectural wall. And what I want to do is, there's a few options here. Let's place the wall. The base constraint is going to be ground floor, obviously, because you want to start the wall from the ground floor. And you want to go all the way up to level 1, and you want to go to level 2 as well. So there's a few options you can do here. You can place the wall like this. And what you actually want to do is, first of all, you want to actually place the wall so that the floor sits on the structural layer and it doesn't eat into the fiberglass bats or the thermal layer, right? Because this is what a lot of people will do. A lot of people will go, okay, let's just do the finish face exterior, and let's place a wall from here all the way here, right? And then what they'll do is, okay, it says unconstrained, so this is going all the way up past level 2, right? If we make this up to level 2, it's going to stop at level 2. What we've done is we've placed our wall, and in our wall command, if you select one of these walls, by the way, if you want to select all the walls at the same time, you select tab and you select that, so all of it will be selected. It says that your unconnected height is 8,000, which coincidentally is the same height as all the way up to level 2, right? If you want to make this 10,000, you can do that and it will increase the height. But the downside to using this manual method is, if you want to change your levels, it's not going to change the top of the wall at the same time. So the best practice is to not have this top constraint unconnected. You want to have it constrained to the level 2, because you want to make sure if you move the grid line up, then everything moves up with it, right? The top of the slab will move up, the ceilings will move up, and everything will move up. So you want to constrain this to the top, right? After you've constrained this to the top, what you want to do is you want to have a look and see what's happened. So there's a few things that have been happening right now, right? So you have your floor, which is actually sitting, it's sort of cutting the whole house in half, because the floor is actually sitting on the outside of these bricks. You have the stairwell, which is also sort of protruding out of the house, right? But that's just the way that we've modeled, because our floor on the bottom is sitting flush with that brick. And so everything at the top is also trying to sit flush with that brick, but it's not actually how we construct this in a residential house, right? I'll show you what I mean. If we go and do a section view, so you can see this better. Oh, we don't have to do a section view, we have an elevation. If we zoom in on this elevation, you have this which is sitting just all the way through the wall. What we actually want to do is, remember how we have different elements? We want to make sure that this is not going through the thermal insulation layer. It's not going to go to the outside where the bricks are. You want the bricks to be able to be flush, like the whole level. You want the bricklayers to put the bricks up properly and not worry about the wall, because you're not wedging a wall in between. And you don't want to have it go through the thermal insulation layer as well. So when you're actually placing your wall, this can't be as we placed it. This can't be the external wall is connected to the outside of the slab. We have to do something with our structural levels, okay? So let's select all these and delete them, because this is wrong. We can't have these walls in the place. So the way I'm going to place my walls is go architectural, and instead of this saying finish face exterior, I want to place this so that it's in line with my core face, right? And I want it to be in line with either my core face interior or exterior, but I'm not sure. Let's double check and see what the correct one is. So if I do something like this, okay, that's correct, because as you'll see, the floor is going to be sitting and stopping just before you have the fiberglass or the wool, the fiberglass bats or the insulation, the thermal layer. Let me place this and show you, right? The floor is going and it's stopping just before we have the brick and just before we have that air layer, which is the thermal layer. You don't want the floor to go through that thermal layer, okay? So that's how we're gonna do this, okay? So now that I'm confident that's the case, let's do the architectural wall and just do the core face exterior. And I'm gonna place this all the way from here down to here. That's the whole thing, right? And after I've done that, let's select all of them and let's constrain this to level 2. Good, it's on ground floor to level 2. And what you'll see is now we have no longer have that ugly floor which is protruding out. And if you zoom in, it makes sense what's happening. The floor is sitting perfectly just before you have the insulation layer. It's going through the structure of the wall. Of course it has to go through the structure because the structure is what's holding the wall or the floor into place. So you'll have a cutout in this structure, the floor will be inserted, and just before the thermal insulation and before the brickwork, it'll stop, okay? That makes sense. If you go down, you have a similar sort of situation, but we're going to be adding another floor, which is going to be the foundation anyway. So this doesn't make sense the way it's built because you just can't have a brick hanging like that. But it makes sense looking at it from this perspective, right? We'll add a foundation level in a second. So don't worry too much about this. What I'm trying to get the point across is that this floor has been placed properly and it's stopping just before the thermal air layer and the bricks. And you're not seeing it in the 3D view, so it's not protruding into the 3D view, and everything looks nice, right? Okay. So now that we have that out the way, let's do a few things. The first thing I want to do is, if I have a look at my stairwell, this is something that I realized before. If I go down and just look at my staircase, by the way, if you want to look at something and you want to hide something temporarily, because I'm like, okay, this would look be very easy if I don't have this floor, which I modeled in. You can click it and on your keyboard, HH, right? It's going to get rid of it and it's going to temporarily hide and isolate, okay? Now you can look at your staircase and you can see, okay, that staircase is actually in the wall. So what I'll do is I'll go to my staircase over here. I'll select this, I'll go edit stairs, and I'm going to align AL on my keyboard. This is what I want to align it to, the wall. And I'm going to align the edge of that staircase, okay? So once I've done that, click OK, you'll see that that looks very nice. And that's been aligned properly and that's going along the side of that wall, right? If you want to now add that floor back, by the way, this didn't remove it or delete it at all because it's in red, it's isolated. If you type in HR, it's going to bring everything back, right? And it's only temporarily hid and isolated the thing for you to see. You can do this with anything. If you want to click the whole wall, this is just one wall, but if you select tab and you select all walls, HH, gets rid of all the walls, and you can see, you can look around, HR brings everything back, right? Very easy when you're working with 3D views if you want to quickly check something out. So, we fixed our staircase, we fixed our floor slabs in alignment with the walls. The next thing to do is actually add another floor to the bottom. I want to actually add a foundational level, right? Because I want this to sit on a foundation. I'm not a structural engineer, but let's do something that we think is correct in terms of foundation. I know a house has a foundation and it's like going to be some a foundational wall which goes around the house. So let's add that in. This is where we would actually need to do a structural wall, because as you can see, let's exit out of that again. If you hover over this, you can see it creates a load bearing or shear wall on the building model, and you can see that that's exactly what we want. We want the floor and then we want a wall which is below it, so supporting the floor and the house on top of it, right? So wall, structural. Let's go here, click down. We can find something which says foundation, FND 300 concrete footing. That looks good. If you select that, and then we can do something similar where we go from And what I want to do is I want to go finish face exterior because I want everything to sort of line up. And this might be wrong, but let's play around with it. And I want to go from here all the way down here, but I want to go in the foundation level. Remember, we have this foundation level. So I want the base constraint to be foundation, right? And I want this to be 0. And then I want the top constraint to be ground floor. And that's it. And then we start from here and we go down to here. And you're not actually going to be able to see it in this view. So it'll give you an error. None of the created elements are visible. That's fine. But what happened? But there we go. As you can see in the 3D view, if you exit out of the editing mode, you can see that we've actually placed that properly. Okay. One more thing which I wanted to say is you can actually do this the opposite way. So what we did is we placed our slabs, and then we needed to understand the structural elements and the core elements of the walls in order to place the walls correctly. But what we can also do is we can do this the opposite way. So if I extend this view out and just draw quickly like a normal wall, I can place my walls and then place my floors after that. And Revit can actually detect the walls and create floors based on that. So I'll give you a quick example. If we place a wall quickly, architectural, and we change it back to what it was before, so I believe it was this one. If we go from the ground floor to level 2 and we place like a square wall looking like that, then that square wall has been populated in our model, right? What we can actually do is when we're placing our floor slabs, we can go architectural. And by the way, this is only if you're placing your slabs after your walls. Depends on how you want to model, right? So if you're placing this, you can, instead of clicking boundary line and selecting a rectangle and going from the top of this to the top of this, or the inside of this to the inside of this, what you can actually do is go down and go to pick walls. And if you select pick walls, if you start selecting these, it's going to start selecting the walls, right? If you click OK, it'll create that slab on the bottom automatically. And it's done the thing that we said we were going to do. It's added it sort of, and you have the brickwork on the outside, it's added it just before that bit of insulation, right? And then you can add your foundational level obviously to the bottom of that, okay? So that's an alternative that you can have. You can place your walls first and then you can place your slabs on top of that. So I just want you to know that. But honestly, in my opinion, it's easier to set your floors up and set your levels up first and then do everything after that. So let me just delete all these things here because we don't need them. And one additional thing which I did want to say is if you actually want to place an unconventional wall that looks really strange, what you can do is you can place your normal wall like this, right? If you go to any view, so for example, let's go to our 3D view here and let's double click this. It'll take you into this editing mode. So now you can actually start to edit things, right? So let's just say that what I want to do is I want to delete this and then I want to add maybe like an arc. So let's add start end radius arc. So start here, end here, have a radius like this. Then I want to do like a circle out in the center. I want to cut that circle out. Then I want to delete, I want to take this and I want to drag it over here, right? Remove constraints. I want to drag this and I want to put it on top of that. Now, if you click OK, your wall is going to be like a strange type of wall. So this is how you can do maybe like a feature wall if you have something going off on the side. And this is how you can actually start to design facades and things in the front that have circular cutouts and curved walls and things like that. This is how you would do it. You can do it in 3D view, you can do it in your elevation or section view, and then when you look at it from your plan view, from the top, you'll see it looking something similar to this, right? So that's a little bit of an advanced tip that I'm telling you, how to actually do weird shapes and stuff with walls. If you understand the basics of what I just told you, how to place walls properly, understanding that you can change the materials understanding what the core is, so like what the structural element is in the center of the wall, how to change the outsides, how to place walls properly with regards to floor slabs, so how to place floor slabs just on the structural element and not on the brick and not on the insulation. And then also additionally, the last thing, if you understand how to actually edit into like a weird, strange looking family like this, if you know those things, then you're pretty much a master right now at floors in Revit, right? There's nothing else that you need to know. Because you can go and play around with it. I've given you all the tools which you need. What we'll do now is we'll actually start modeling this finally according to this house that we have, right? So let's have a look at this and we'll start modeling it based on the partitions that we have inside. So let's go to our first floor plan. When you enter the house, right, which is over here in your ground floor, you have a wall which extends all the way to that grid line from here to here. And the way that I'm just going to add this is by just going to architecture. Oh, we're still in the section boxes. Okay, exit. We'll go to architecture. Let's place a wall, an architectural wall, because we're not doing any foundations anymore. And remember we talked about external walls, we added that. We talked about foundations. Now we talk about partitions. So we have a partition, which is going to be maybe like, if you want to know, if you're confused about what these partitions are, right? You have, okay, so this looks like there's a metal stud, MSTD. This looks like 75 mil metal, normal studs. This one looks like 70 mils metal studs, right? If you want to double check, you can click it. You can go to edit type, structure, and then you can see. Yeah, so that's what I said. So you have a gypsum wallboard on the outside, right? You have a gypsum wallboard on the other outside as well. So you have one wallboard, another wallboard. In the middle, you have a metal stud layer, right? And that's the structure. So depending on what your specification is for the house, what the structural engineers will say, you'll model it with the correct type of wall. What you can do is you can duplicate it, name it something else, and then change the structure. Remember, if you have finish 2, if you want to add something on the outside, you want to change it to either finish 1 or finish 2. If you want to add it to the inside the core boundary between those two, you want to make sure it's structural, right? And you want to select what's structural. So going back to basics, let's go back here and let's just say, okay, I want to do like this normal partition wall with some metal wall studs in the middle. You can either select from the end of this, the mid of this, the start of this, it doesn't matter, because if you go from anywhere all the way here and click escape, it's just going to connect it automatically. And even if you can disconnect it by just dragging this away. Oh. Right, so you've disconnected it. If you try to drag it to the end here, it's going to connect it like normal. If you try to drag it to the start here, it's just going to connect it the same way. Like, it's all going to be the same, right? So don't worry about where you're trying to connect it to. Revit will automatically do that. And if you actually go back into the floor plan, you'll see that there's an issue here. What we added was a floor, and you can actually see that in level 1. It's annoying. Again, it's like that issue we had at the start with the floor slabs poking out the side of the building. You have the same thing on level 1, right? You don't want to be walking and see like a partition in the middle. It doesn't make any sense. So you want to make sure this stops just below the slab. Usually the wall will go to the underside of the slab, right? So when you select this, what you want to do is, in 3D view, I usually like to do this. Let me just extend this 3D view down so we can actually see things. And I'm gonna cut it so we can see it a bit more. Okay. So what I like to do after I place a floor is I click this and I go attach or detach the top or the base, right? If you click attach top and you select the wall that you're trying to attach it to, so this big wall, this big floor, it's going to attach it. And what that's done is, if you select this and I click front view so you can actually see properly, it's actually made that floor or that wall stop just before the underside of that slab. So that's exactly what we're after. And that means that it's not actually poking out through the top of the view, right? So that's perfect. So every single time you add a floor, you want to make sure that it's attached to the top of the wall or the top of the slab. So you're constraining it. So that if you move a grid line, it moves the slabs, it moves the floors, it moves the walls, and everything actually happens properly with Revit, because you need to be modeling this correctly so that you don't have to, like AutoCAD, change one thing when you 100 things when you change one thing, right? So what we'll do now is, since we've added that sort of on the ground floor, this partition plan here, we'll then add the next thing, which we'll have a look here, and we have sort of a wall which is going around here. And what I like to do, to be honest with you, is I'm just gonna add a wall all the way around here, and then split it in the middle, and then see what happens, right? So we're on ground floor. I'm just gonna move this off to the side so you can't see it, but I can, so I can actually model this correctly. So we have, let's go back to placing a wall, an architectural wall. Again, we have our partition wall, and you know that the wall is going to start sort of on the side here. You know that you have you're going up here, you're running or turning, and then you go up the staircase again, right? So if that's the case, you know that you need to have a wall along the back of this. So you have a wall, and I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to think about aligning it later. So it's going to stop here, maybe on that staircase. It's going to go along that staircase, right? Then it's going to go all the way up. This is going to be where your toilet is. I'm going to continue like this, and we're going to connect it over here, right? That looks about right to me. Again, let's bring this back so you can see. So I've gone up, gone along that staircase, gone across here. This is going to be the toilet, so we need to add this wall here for the toilet. And then we've continued over here. We have a pantry here, we have a toilet here, we have a storage utility over here, right? So there's one more thing I need to do. I need to extend this wall from here to here. I need to add a wall from here to here, right? The first thing I said was extend the wall, which is not really an extension. I'm just adding another wall. So let's click that again. Go from here to here. Again, Revit's automatically going to attach everything. You see it automatically attached everything. And then you want to do the same thing from here to here. So going to go on that intersection of that wall up here. Click that, escape. So now this is starting to look good. Okay, so let's actually, what I'll do is I'm going to bring this 3D view into like the main view, because this is what we need to look at. This is how I usually like to model. So you enter the house through here. Let's actually crop this a bit. So you're entering the house through here. You can go up the staircase like this. You have the toilet here. You can go around here, go to the back. There's a kitchen here. Should be able to go into the storage area here, and then there's a storage area here, and there's a pantry here, right? That looks pretty good. If we extend this up, again, you see all these issues with the floors or the walls actually protruding into the floors. So what we have to do is go back to this and click tab, select all these. I'm going to click control and then add this as well. And I'm just going to say I want to attach that to the top, and let's go here and let's select this, and that's just removed every single one of those. All right, so now we're no longer attaching to the top and everything looks nice. If we look at a section view, you'll see that it stops at the underside of the slab, which is what we want. Okay, one more thing that I do want to do is I want to have a look properly at this stairwell area, because I want to make sure that I'm properly aligning everything. So let's zoom this and see what's happening. So this is aligned to that wall, that's right. I want to see what's going on around the back, because I can see I've lost the edge of that staircase. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and I've realized, okay, I've lost the edge of that staircase. what I'm probably going to do, because the edge of that staircase is this dashed line over here, I'm going to click align, and I want to align to this, and I want to align the wall, right? So we're going to align the outside of the wall. This is the most out that I can select. If I, do it again, align to here, that wall. I'm just going to push that back, and we're going to do the same thing with this as well, right? Because as you can see, if you look at the 3D view, let's rotate this around a bit, these stairs are being cut off because the support on the right is non-existent. It's because we swallowed it with our wall. So again, AL on the keyboard, this is what I want to align it to. Let's align this wall. And as you can see, it pulled that wall, and it also pulled the wall that was sort of joining towards it as well. All right. Okay, so the staircase looks pretty good. You have sort of a lip which is going around it. You have something going all the way around it. You have a glass handrail, which you have over here. You have that lip, which is perfect. It's looking good. Let's extend this out. And let's bring our view down. Extend this out. So this is what it looks like so far, right? Let's bring this back and see if we're missing anything on that level. So on the first floor, we have that wall, everything is open. That's right. You have this, you have this, you have this. That's exactly what we seem to have, right? It's looking perfect. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to level 1, if you wanna call it that. And so click this, level 1. It's going to open it up, and as you can see, well, what I'll do is I'll extend this view up, so my section box is going up, and then I will take the bottom of this and I will sort of take it just above so I can see the bottom of that slab. So that I can see everything on that level. Okay, so let's model everything on that level now. We have a bedroom here. We have a wall which extends all the way along here. And you have a master bedroom here. So, by the way, this is all on, you should have these floor plans available and open because I made them specifically for this project and they're free to download. So this is for you so you can learn very easily, very quickly. Okay, so we go to architecture. We'll place some internal walls again. I know that there's a wall going all the way, and this is good because, by the way, we set this up in our previous video, but just for your information, if you go to your, I escaped out of everything. If you go to your floor plan and you go down, you can see that you have an underlay, and I've set the top level to level 1 and the base level to ground floor. What this does is when I'm on my level 1, I can actually see anything on ground floor. So the reason that's good is I can see the walls on ground floor, so I can align everything and model it as if I'm modeling it using that as tracing paper, right? So that's very good to have when you're modeling these things. So let's go back to wall. We're going to start off on that grid line. We're going to continue over here, snap onto there, go up. We're going to finish there. Click escape. What else can we add? We know that we have to add something going from here. We have a corridor. We created a floor specifically for that bathroom, so this is going to be where the bathroom ends. But let me extend this over here. Let me add this for the bathroom. So we have a bathroom here. We have a walk-in closet here. I know the walk-in closet's going to be split in half. Okay. Based on these plans, which I have, we also have some sort of partitions here for a toilet. So that toilet is going to go somewhere here. And then you have a bathroom and a shower. You have 2 showers actually. So let's place more partitions inside here. And
to be honest, we can actually edit these anytime we want. So we can place this like this, and we can have a look at this, and we can see if is this how we want it placed. And then we can click this, and we can use our arrow keys to move this way, to move it this way, right? We can click this, we can use our up and down arrow keys to move it up and down, so we can actually always edit these things later on. But based on the dimensions here, this is around 1320. So if we try to find the dimension from here to here, that's around yeah, that looks about right. Maybe we can give it a bit more space. And so now, when you place your door here, you'll have a toilet here, a bathtub here, 2 showers here, you have your entrance into here, you have a mirror here, you have your walk-in closet here, you have your walk-in closet there, and everything is starting to come together, right? The one additional thing we want to do is we want to fix up here. So let's add our bathrooms in for the top as well. So again, wall. We can start over here. We can go down here. Create that wall. Right, escape. Start again from the midpoint. That's always a really good idea. To over here. Click escape. Close. Let's extend here to here, so we can close those up. And obviously this actually needs to be extended all the way down, so you can extend a wall like that as well. So the way this would work is you have this room which you enter, then you have a closet and a bathroom. You have this room you enter, you have a closet and a bathroom, right? The last thing that we want to do is we have a study area over here, and then we have a storage area over here. So let me bring back our plan here. You have a hallway over here, you have a storage area over here, right? So you want to add your walls for here. So let me just do that. Click wall, and let's go on top of this. Alright, that's looking pretty good. I'm feeling pretty confident with that. Let's go back and see what it looks like on our 3D view. Let me just get rid of that wall there so we can see things a bit more clearly. Let's extend this down so we can see in terms of level 1 what everything looks like, or ground floor. So you walk up the stairs. You have an open space over here. You have a corridor for you to get to the master bedroom. 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, walk-in closet, bathroom, toilet, bathtub with shower, right? That's looking pretty good. One thing that you might want to do is you can always edit the distance between these areas. So if you think that this is not enough space from here to here, 2 meters, you can always edit this, and you can make this go down just by clicking this and using the arrow keys to go down, right? But I won't do that because that wasn't my intent. I think 2 meters is enough. So the last thing that we want to do is when we look at the top, you know the top is not attached to anything. So that's really good, because we're going to add our ceiling in, and then we can talk about attaching the floor or the walls to the ceiling. I talked about making sure that the floors on the bottom, or the walls on the bottom, was attached to the ceiling so that they don't protrude into the top partitions or the top floors. And yeah, what we do need to do is, when you look at it like this, you don't want to fall when you walk up here. So you want to add a railing to the outside of here, and you want to add a railing over here. And additionally, what I realized was, actually, you have a space in between here. So I actually didn't place this on top of the wall. So what I can do is I can go and drag this and align this on top of that correctly. If I can understand, looking at it in 3D view, where the proper wall sits. So let's bring that back. Where does that wall sit? So that wall sits around there. Something has happened here. Okay, so I'm a bit confused about what's going on here. The easiest thing for me to do is analyze this using a section view. So if we take this button on the top and we cut a section from here to here, then what we can do is we can go to view and we can have a look at this section and see what's up. So we can see that we have an opening on level 1, which is like, there's like an overbite, which is extending, which is not right. So this shouldn't actually extend all the way out. So we need to edit this floor somehow so that it's not extending. Let me move this over to here. It's not extending out, because if you walk here, now as you walk up, you might hit your head here on this piece, right? So we have to find a way to bring that back. And would you like the walls that go up to this floor to attach to its bottom? Yes, I would like it to attach. And so that makes sense. That floor is attaching here. It still seems like there might be an overhang. So if you go back here and we look at it in 3D view, this is very minuscule detailing stuff. Looks like there is an overhang. So what we can do is we can actually align this to that face of the wall. You click OK, attach. So there we go. That looks better now. So you have, it might be different colors, but everything is sort of flush. If you go to your section view, you'll see that everything is actually flush one level. So you have your partition going up, you have your partition continuing up, right? 3D view, that looks good. And then, yeah, that looks perfect. And that looks nice with our railing as well. Okay, so that's a good example. Like if things happen, you might need to, you know, if it looks weird on the 3D view, you will always be able to see some issues on the 3D view. If like, when you're modeling, and whenever you model and you see issues on the 3D view, you want to go back into your create sections and try to figure out what's actually wrong so that you can actually start to resolve any issues as they come up, right? Okay, the last thing that we want to do is there's two things, right? You can either add some railing to here so that you don't fall into the staircase, or you can actually extend this wall and you can take this and pull this over here. And what that's going to do is, and just attach it to that, and what that's going to do is it's going to give it some wall so that when you can travel up the stairs, and then you have your own sort of study section over here. It gives it a bit more room. You have an area where you can watch TV, a study section over here, so it gives it a bit more angles and stuff, right? This is how it is in my house. You have just a stairwell by itself, and it just depends on how you want to design this. So you might know how to place the stairs just by using the Revit command stairs on Revit, but you don't know how to put the railings in. You don't know how to connect the proper walls, so it's integrated properly with this staircase. You don't know how to add a railing which is going on the side connected to the wall, right? You want to go from this to this level, and that's what we're going to do in today's video. We're going to integrate it and bring everything together. What you can do is you can delete that wall, you can bring it back to what it was before over here, and you can just try to add a railing from here to here so that if you're sitting here, you can actually enjoy that big window that we have, and it looks like this is one big open space, right? So I probably would prefer to have something like that. So the way you can add your railing is just by clicking this and pretty much just drawing the line where you want your railing. So yeah, I want my railing from, oops, let's just say that I want my railing from here to here. Click enter, and then you have a small rail there, right? And you probably want a rail over here as well. And you want to have a look maybe at that railing and see if it's actually placed in the proper place. I think it probably needs to move across so we can align it with sort of that. So let's nudge it up. So yeah, that's what it would look like. So I'm gonna align that railing to the bottom over there. And then we can add another railing over here so we don't fall this way, right? So then we go back to architecture, railing, sketch path, just from here to here. Click OK. It's going to add that. Maybe you need to extend that. See what that looks like. Yeah, we definitely need to extend that. Okay, and you can actually edit this railing to whatever you want. So you can click these and you can go down here and you can change this to glass panel, which is the exact same as this. And so now what you've done is you've created some railing which mimics what we've added to our staircase.
So far, what I've done is I've placed my staircase according to the functions on Revit. So I just went to architecture and I placed my staircase, and it's automatically done the railings, and I've also done my walls which go around the staircase, and I've placed my floors. But this is not quite complete, right? I can see that we need to actually extend this wall so that we can't walk underneath the staircase. Because in my house, we have a staircase and there's a closet underneath the staircase. So we should actually have a wall underneath the staircase so that we can't walk underneath here. We need to extend this wall this way, and that wall actually needs to go in between the staircase so that when you're going up the staircase, on the right is just a wall, and then you can go all the way up, right? So what I'm going to do is I will go to my ground floor plan, and over here I will extend this wall by using the wall command, WA on my keyboard. I'm going to click at the end point where the previous wall was and just continue that onwards to the center over here, and then continue that to the middle here, right? So this is not perfect, but you get the idea. This is sort of what I want. As you can see, the wall is going all the way up, so this is a bit annoying because this wall is sort of, it just needs to stop on an angle, right? So it's not meant to go into the railing here. And as you can see here, this wall on this side, which is just going and sort of closing out, is not completely optimized because we have a space in between that wall, and we have a space between the wall and the railing, and it doesn't really look professional. So what I'm gonna do is, for now, I'm gonna delete this wall, right? And we're just gonna work with this wall, and we've placed it over here. I'm going to actually edit my staircase because I want my staircase not to have this small distance over here. I want the upper landing. So there's two rises, right? You're going up once and then you go up again. So you go up here and you go up again. I want them to actually sit flush, right? I want this right support to sit flush with the wall. And then I want the wall to extend just to the bottom of that right support of the upper staircase, right? What I'll do is I'll click my staircase and I'll go into the staircase editing mode. And as you can see, this is in the staircase editing mode. What I can do is I can actually extend this. First of all, I want to find the distance between this and this. So if we go the distance from here to here, what is that? 338. So if we divide 338 by 2, that'll be like 170. So if we have 170, let's extend this. So this is 1170. And the idea behind this is I'm also going to extend this down so that this is aligned, right? This right support is aligned with this right support. It's going to be on top of each other, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go align, and I want to align this to this, and that's going to pull it on top of that. And what you'll see is now you can go up, right? And those two right supports are sort of overlapping each other. And what this means is I can extend my wall this way, just before that right support. And the right support can actually attach to the base of that wall. Yeah? So I've edited my staircase. After this, what I'll do is I'll click OK. So my staircase is now edited. You will see that your railings have sort of gone screwed up. So let's actually edit our railings. Let's click this, and I know that I don't want this railing, right? And we can click OK. So we only have the railing which starts when you get to the center and you want to go to the second run of stairs. So now what we can do is we can actually take this and we can extend this wall, WA, start at the end point, and we can continue this all the way to where this stops, right? And now you'll see there's a bit of an issue. You can't see any of the right supports. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that wall and we're going to keep moving it up until we can see both right supports. So as you can see, you started seeing both right supports right about there, okay? But you want to extend it all the way so that we're engulfing both of the supports. So I'll open this 3D view so I can have a look and see what's happening. If I go back here, you'll see that that's about the time when both right supports are engulfed, right? So what I'll do is I'll align my wall to that part, and I'll click, and sort of I'll exit out of my editing mode. So as you can see, that wall is sitting, right, on the right support. And the easiest way for you to check this is by opening sort of a section view. If we go here and we do like a section from here to here, we can right click and say go to view, and as you can see, you'll be able to see that this is, where's the wall? This is the wall, right? And then this right support is sitting just on that wall. So we can actually take this wall and we can adjust this based on this section view so that it's sitting just, right now it might seem that it's sitting in, so what we can do is we can take this and we can align this wall, and it's properly aligned, right? It just looks like this on the section view, but you get the idea. There's a wall here, the right support is sitting on that wall, the right support is sitting on that wall, right? So let's go back to our ground floor. I'm going to delete this. It's a good practice to just delete sections when you don't want them, because otherwise they're going to keep coming up, and then at the end when you finish your project, you're going to have so many sections that you don't need and you've lost track, right? So what we can do now is we need to do one additional thing, which is edit this wall, because this wall is actually going all the way through the staircase. Doesn't make sense. So the best thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a section view and we're going to place that section view just on top of both of those, that right support and that wall, and we're going to adjust that section view so that in this section view what we should be able to see is the wall, and also we should be able to see the right support. So let me move this section to this side, but the idea is I'm going to keep adjusting this section by using the down arrow until I see, there you can, so you can see the right support, right? If I zoom in a bit more and I go up, you can see the wall. So what we want is we want to see both, but we can't actually see both, which is a bit of an issue. Oh, but in this case, we actually can see both. If we can see the wall here, which we can edit, and we can also see the right supports, which is good because now I can go here and I can edit this wall. We can go edit profile, and we can do some mucking around here. We can move this down just over here. We can remove our constraint. We can take this and we can place this all the way down here. We can take this and we can place this down here, and then we can close this up over here, and we can sort of move this into place. And so now we've edited our wall so that it's sitting, and there's a small offset where you can actually connect that bottom or that right support to the wall. And if you click OK, now the wall is nicely edited. And if you go to your 3D view, as you can see, that wall is perfectly sitting right where it's meant to be sitting. So that wall is sitting, that is extending, the staircase is extending all the way up. The wall is taking like a sharp right turn, and now you'd be able to put in a door here and then use that as a closet. An additional thing you can do is, if you want to actually use it as a closet, is you would add an additional wall that spans from here to here, right? And then you would do the exact same thing. You'd put a section there and you would edit what it looks like so that it just sits below that staircase, right? So then you have a staircase that you can see when you go into the broom closet or whatever, and that wall is going to be attached to the floor, and then you have a back wall over there. I'm not going to add the back wall because I'm not going to add a door in this case because I don't want to under stair storage, but that is the idea behind this. And usually in that scenario, you would just have a wall at the back, and then you would just have some empty space over here, right? And you wouldn't really use that as utility because it's too low. So that's the idea behind editing that. What you'll also realize is, in this case, since we deleted our handrail in order to make this look nice, we don't have a handrail. So if you want to add a handrail, go on Google and type in Revit handrail for stairs, and you'll find a bunch of those handrails. What you can then do is I just found this on the internet. It's a stainless steel handrail. So you can take this and you can literally, it says Autodesk Revit family. You can take this and you can just drag this into your project. It'll upgrade it from whatever it was to, and then you can just place it randomly. So now that we've placed a handrail, we can actually go and edit this handrail. If you want, you can actually align this properly, but I'm just going to do a quick workaround and rotate this at 60 degrees. Oh, that was too much. Rotate this, something like that. Place it over here. Maybe you want to see the distance. You might want to check the distance between here and here, so it's around 1 meter or something. And then so now you have a handrail which goes all the way up that you can hold, like a stainless steel handrail. And then you can add another handrail the exact same way on this side if you want to, but if you don't, you have the handrail on the right side, right? So if we go now and we change this to realistic, you'll see this is starting to look much better. We have a handrail, we have our staircase, which we've adjusted the length. We've added our wall in, and the wall is going in between the two stairs, and the two stairs are aligned on top of each other, and our right supports are also aligned, so that the right support just to the left of that right support, or just to the right of it, depending on which way you're looking at it from, you have that wall which continues, and you can actually attach the right support. So this is how it would actually be constructed, and this is what it would actually look like. One additional thing, you might want to clean this up in terms of the walls, because you've placed your walls and you place your floors. When you have a staircase, you have a cutting or an opening in that area. What ends up happening is, most of the time, since you place walls on the top and the bottom, you have this, which is just like it's the floor slab, which you can see, which is not ideal, right? So what you want to do is, maybe if we go to our section view, we can see that issue. You have this floor slab which is actually sitting flush with the walls, and we don't want that. We want the walls to be fully white. We don't want to see any slab when we're going upstairs. So what we can do is we can actually edit the on ground floor. The best idea is to click that floor slab, get into the editing mode by double clicking it, and then you can sort of bring this into the center and click OK. It might ask you if you want to attach something to the top. Yeah, attach it. Unjoin elements because there's some issue over here. And now what I can do is I can actually take this and extend this down. So we'll take this and we'll align this to here, right? And so now when we're going up the staircase, everything looks nice. So this is perfect because we're going up the staircase and we can't see carpet, right? And we go up here. It's fine to have it overhanging over here because technically what they'll do is they'll just put carpet on this and you will just see like an overhang of carpet. Or you can do the exact same thing and extend this wall upwards. But I just wanted to do it over here because it seemed obvious. So now if we turn our realistic mode back on, this will be joined obviously, but this is starting to look really good. We have a railing over here. We can go up. It's not it's joined here, so it doesn't look weird. We don't have a section which is protruding out the wall.
and then we can continue upwards, and we have our railing over here, and we have our railing over here as well that we added. And at this point, you can add a door here, you can extend this wall, and then you can have a broom closet underneath the staircase. One additional thing is you might see there's an issue with this wall extending all the way up to the top of that slab. I just noticed that. So what we can do is we can edit this so that it sits underneath the slab. So what we will have to do is we'll have to click that wall, and we will have to attach to the top base. We'll have to click that, and that should do it, right? So we no longer see anything protruding out. So there's a few ways that people like to add ceilings into their Revit projects. The first way is by just going to your ceiling plans, which is underneath your floor plan section. So ceiling plan, ground floor, level 1. Let's open both of them because we need to add ceilings to both of these. I'm going to open my 3D view and pull it to the side so that you can see it at the same time as it's happening. And I'm going to edit this view so we can see as we add our ceilings in. So I recommend doing this so you can actually see what's happening. So we have our ground floor, we have our level 1. Let me extend this to the top, and let's add our ceilings. So we've gone to our ceiling plan here, and if we go to our ground floor, the first thing we're going to do is by going to the architecture tab, you can go to the ceiling, right? Let's click this, and there's two options here. You can sketch your ceiling, or you can do an automatic ceiling, right? If you do an automatic ceiling, I think it's very easy, because if you do automatic ceiling, you don't have to sketch everything around everywhere. You can just do automatic ceiling. As you hover over sort of the walls here and you click, you'll see that the ceiling just pops up. But the thing is, this is not completely accurate. So you can actually go around and start to edit what this ceiling is going to look like. So I placed the ceiling. Whoops. Okay, so I've placed the ceiling, and if you click the ceiling, you can see that it's at a certain level, right? I think this is way too low. So if we click this ceiling, you can increase the height offset from level. So from ground floor, I want this to be at 3,000 or 3 meters. It's a really high ceiling, right? If I click OK, then it gets moved up. And if we have more space, right? In this case, we have a pretty high, between the grid lines, we have, it starts at 0 and it goes to 4,000. So we can actually afford to have an even higher ceiling. In this case, we'll do 3,300, which is in some places, it'll look really nice inside the house because it's a really high ceiling. So as you can see, the ceiling has been placed automatically. This is good. Let me extend this out. The one thing you'll notice is that it's actually in the way of the staircase. So we're going to have to edit this ceiling so that on lower level, it doesn't cut into the staircase. So let's extend this so we can actually see our ceiling. And as you can see, in this ground level, right, you want to add a ceiling for each unique room that you have. So I've actually gone ahead and I've added the first ceiling. Let's edit this so we can actually place this, not cutting that staircase. So if I double click that ceiling, you go into editing mode, and over here you can go back and you can start to edit what this ceiling is going to look like. So I want to delete these lines. I'm going to delete everything over here. Delete that, delete that, delete that, because I don't want to go around the staircase. I want this to be an opening. I'm going to click this and sort of bring this back here. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to extend this all the way down, right? And I'm going to attach this to this. And so now this ceiling looks nice. And I probably want to, yeah, I want that ceiling to go around that wall, which is correct, because the ceiling is not going to go through a wall. It's going to stop at the wall. And so you have a nice outline of what you want the ceiling to be. If you click OK, now you have something which is starting to look a bit better, right? So if we cut this section box so we get rid of that wall, you can start to see that this ceiling, as you enter the house, you have a ceiling above you, right? And you can go up the staircase and it's perfect. If you extend this up, you can see that above that ceiling, there's a ceiling, there's a floor slab, and then in between those two is called the ceiling space. So, oops. So you have that ceiling and you have that floor slab, and then this is going to be the ceiling space in between those two areas. what you will realize is if you want, you can actually increase this ceiling so that it's just sitting below that staircase. In that case, it'll actually look better. But if you want a certain distance between the ceiling and the slab, because you want to add services, for example, we're going to add air terminals later to every single room in here, so that we don't have to add a wall-mounted air conditioner. We have air terminals in the ceiling, and we want some pipe work in the ceiling. You need some ceiling space. So this is the ceiling space in between the ceiling and the slab, right? What we'll do now is, since we've done that, we're going to go back here and we're going to add all the ceilings for the rest of the areas. So again, automatic ceiling, click this, click this, click this. Okay, what that's done is actually it's gone ahead and added the ceilings, if we extend this down, to the bathroom, that pantry, and that storage area that we have, right? And sometimes you might not even want to have a ceiling in certain areas. Like for example, in the storage area, there's not going to be anything in the ceiling space, because it makes sense to have a ceiling space for the bathroom, because we're going to have an exhaust fan here, maybe like a fan inside here. It's going to sit inside the ceiling space. So what you'll need is you'll need a certain ceiling height, or like a ceiling space in here, right? In the pantry, we don't actually need to have a ceiling space. In this closet, we don't need to have a ceiling space. So what you can actually do is you can increase this height to 3300, and you can increase this height to 3300, and you can increase this height to 3300. Why does that keep happening? So you click this once, increase it to 3300. And since we have a pantry and we have a closet, right, a storage area, we can actually even increase this even higher. So we can even go as close as 3600. And the reason for that is because of what I said before. We can have the ceiling just touching the underside of that slab, or really close to it, because we don't need any ceiling space there. So if you wanted to, you can increase this further up, and that's going to increase the vertical height in that storage room, and it's going to make it so that we can have our cupboards inside our pantry, because this is the pantry. You can have them as high as possible, so you have more storage space for the kitchen, right? So what you could do is, let's cut a section, and I'll show you how to figure that out. So if we cut a section in there, you'll be able to see the slab, the ceiling, and everything. So if you go to your view, you can see this is the ceiling, right? And then this is the other ceiling. So you might want a certain space. This is the bathroom in that ceiling, because you want to add a fan in there. So you might want to have 0.5 meter, which is what we have currently, right? So you put a grill here, you can put a fan in there, and that's going to exhaust outwards. But in this case, we can actually extend this ceiling, and we can align this to the underside of that slab. So we just have plasterboard on the ceiling, but this is really high. And then you can add your storage rack inside here, which is really big for the pantry. So you have a lot of space in there, right? So you have to be careful, not careful, you have to be smart about how high your ceilings are, because you want to make them as high as possible in areas you don't have anything in the ceiling space. So you can do the same thing. You can go and you can extend this section view down. Go to the section, and you'll see that you can do the same thing here. So you can align this to the underside of that slab. So you have high ceilings in those two areas, and then you have high ceilings in the other areas as well, because it's around 3300, but you still need some space for your services in the ceiling, right? So once you've done that level, you can continue upwards, and we can go to our level 1, and we're going to do the same thing. Architecture, ceiling, automatic ceiling. We're going to click in each of these rooms. This is how easy it is. You just click all of these rooms, and it adds these ceilings into here, and it's just automatic. In the storage area, so if you've already placed it, it'll give you a warning and say that it's already placed there. So you want to make sure that you delete one of those ceilings if you accidentally place a ceiling twice. So this is the good thing about doing automatic ceilings. It'll give you a warning if there's an area that you haven't placed a ceiling in, or placed it twice. In this case, I've actually forgot to place a ceiling in here. So I'm going to go back to my ceiling command and automatically Place the ceiling in there. And what I realized is all of these are actually at 2600, which is an issue because I want to make them much higher, right? If you go to your section view, you'll notice that there's absolutely no reason for there to be such a high distance between here and here. There's a whole meter. It doesn't make any sense because we're going to have a roof on top of this level 2, right? So we can actually extend all of these things. The way I would like to do this is by right clicking this and going, I'm not going to do it in this. Okay, so technically what I want to do is I want to select all of these ceilings and raise them. I'm going to raise them to 3300 from the floor level, right? And the easiest way to do that is by right clicking and going select all instances in the view, right? And then changing this height. However, you will see that since my view contains the ceilings on the bottom level, I'll also be editing those heights. And I don't want to edit them all to 3300 because I place some higher and I place some lower, right? So the easiest way to do that is just by clicking this and dragging this up, right? So we're well in the first floor. And then you can do this again by clicking this, right clicking, select all instances in the view. And now you'll see, okay, everything's at 2600. Now you can change this to 3300. Before, it said varies because it was selecting the ones in the lower level and the upper level. And remember how we made it to the underside of the slab in the storage in the pantry? Now we've removed that from the view. So we can add everything as 3300. And as you move your mouse away, it'll raise all the ceilings. You can also do this the opposite way by just before you place a ceiling, right? Architecture, ceiling, you can change this to 3300. I just didn't do that, which is why I had to change it again, right? So you have different ceiling types. You have a grid ceiling, which is like what you'd want to put in an office, or you have a plain ceiling, which is what you most likely have in a house. So these grid ceilings are ceilings which you can put in offices and they have tiles, so you can push them up and down. Since we're doing a house, we use this plain ceiling. And so if you look at your section view, now you can see that there's a certain height between here and here. If you put your roof at this level, you have a certain height that you can actually add any services in up the top. And you have some storage space for anything in, I don't know what it's called, the attic. No, attic's down, but in the ceiling. The opposite of the attic, I'm pretty sure. It is the attic because the basement is underneath and the attic is up the top. Yeah. So this is starting to look pretty good now. If we go back to our ground floor, what you'll see is that our ceilings are all perfect. You might want to have higher ceilings in certain levels, in certain areas. In that case, you can actually just click that and you can increase the ceiling. But let me show you an additional thing that some people like to do. Some people like to add ceilings by creating additional views or additional levels, right? So they'll go to their east elevation and they'll say, okay, you have a ground floor, you have level 1, you have level 2. What some people will do, let me save this before I do this, because I'm not going to save changes after, is they'll copy this grid line and they'll go down here, right? And they'll rename this as ground floor ceiling. Okay, and there's pros and cons to this. And I don't do this because the reason I don't do this is because it becomes very complicated. Let's say you have 100 levels of, it's a skyscraper, you have 100 levels. If you have 100 levels and you put all grids, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and then you have level 1 ceiling, level 2 ceiling, level 3 ceiling, then it becomes very complicated. You have like 200 levels and it's so complicated. You have so many views on the side of it. And what that does is when you give this to a subcontractor, the subcontractor starts to copy monitor your grid lines and your levels. There's going to be so many, it's going to be too confusing. So the best practice is to not do this, right? I'm showing you what not to do. Don't have a ground floor ceiling, and usually what people will do is they'll write like 3300, and then this is like your ceiling view. And then if you have all the ceilings in the project at 3300, then you can place them all here. And then later on, if you just want to move the ceiling up, you can just go up with the ground floor ceiling level, and it'll move all of the ceilings with it because it's going to be constrained, right? But in some projects, you want to have ceilings which are higher, you want to have ceilings which are lower, you want to have
a lot of floors. So in this case, this doesn't actually work because it starts to add too much complexity to the Revit model, where you might have ceilings. For example, in the pantry, we had ceilings which were higher than 3,300, right? They were just to the underside of the slab. But in the living room, we had 3,300. So then it becomes confusing because you have a level and you have ceilings which are at 3,300 and then some which are lower. But then the ground floor ceiling level says that it's at 3,300. So I don't recommend this, but I'm just letting you know that this is another possibility to have a ground floor ceiling level. And make sure if you're doing this, it's a small project and all ceilings are at the same height. Otherwise, it'll get very confusing. So for now, I'm just going to click this and delete it because it's not a good practice. And let's go back to our 3D view, and everything's starting to look pretty good now. So the next thing that I will probably start to do is, this house is starting to come together. All I need to do is just add some windows and doors to pretty much everything inside the house, as well as on the facade on the outside of the house, right? Let's look at this finally in realistic view so we can see what we've done here. So that's starting to look really good, right? One additional thing which I did want to say is that the second method of doing this is when you go to architecture and ceiling, instead of automatically sketching, you can just sketch your ceiling, and this just opens your sketch plane. And then you can just go like, you can go line or rectangle, and you can just sketch the lines from here all the way around, all the way down here. But to be honest, if you're using Revit and it's got a smart feature which does automatic ceilings, you might as well use that. The reason you might want to do ceilings like this is, I'll tell you when you might want to do this, is if you have like, in some big projects, you have like polygons in the ceiling and they're suspended, right? You might have like a polygon or a circle or a rectangle which is hanging, and it's not like a complete ceiling, it's a suspended ceiling. And in those cases, you have like a suspended ceiling here, you have another one here, and you have another one here, and they're suspended to the slab, and then you have the services which go over it. So in a case like that, you will want to use this editing mode, or this not the automatic one, the one where you draw it, because you have weird ceilings which are suspended, right? But if you have a ceiling which is uniformly going through the whole project, just like this house does, then you can just do the automatic version, and that's when you would use both of these options, right? That is the end of the video. Hopefully you understand exactly how to add ceilings, how to increase the heights of ceilings, how to use the automatic option versus the sketching option, and when you would actually start to use them. You would understand how to keep a certain ceiling space, so you have space for ductwork and plumbing work and fans that you want to put inside. You know, you want to put an exhaust fan in the bathroom, so you want a ceiling space there. But in the pantry, you don't have an exhaust fan. You don't have an exhaust fan in the storage cupboard, right? So you don't want to have ceiling space for that. You just want to go all the way up to the underside of the slab. This will increase the height you have for certain equipment, such as like a storage rack or something, right? So you want to make sure that you keep these things in mind when you're designing a house, when you're an architect, when you're doing things to do with ceilings. It's very simple. So far, we've modeled in our slabs, our walls, we've detailed our staircase so it looks really nice when you model it. We've added our ceilings in. So the last, or one of the last things we have to do to make this look more like a house is add in our doors. So our front doors and our rear sliding doors, as well as any sliding doors that we have for balconies, any doors within the house, and any windows that are in any bedrooms, as well as any toilets and bathrooms. So let's go ahead and add all these in. The way that I'm going to start doing this is just by, let me change the view, looking at my floor plan, which I created for you guys. By the way, this is the first link in the description, school. You can join my free learning platform and you can download all of these files. I have a floor plan which I created specifically for you. We have to add in all our windows on our ground floor. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 windows. I'll say that one of these is going to be like a sliding window or sliding door, and the other ones are going to be normal windows. We have windows all around the house. And if you go to our second floor or first floor, if you say ground floor and first floor, you have windows all around the house as well. And you have smaller ones near the closets, and you have smaller ones near the bathrooms, right? Just behind the bathtubs. So let's go ahead and start modeling this. what you'll realize is if you can just go to the architecture tab, you have everything here that you need. If you want to place a door, it's here. A window is here, right? So if you click door, you'll realize that you have different types of doors, and you can go to the properties panel and you can select the type of door you want. If you want a normal door, which is like inside the house, you can choose one of these doors. It's a single door. You have a double door over here and you can place that. But what I like to do is to make this look a bit nicer so that when we're rendering it looks nicer, you can actually go on Google, type in nice looking Revit doors, right? Or nice looking Revit windows, and there will be so many that you can choose. What I have done is I've gone ahead, for example, I'll show you, I've gone to bimobject.com and I've just typed in window, and then I can select the window which I want. I did the same thing for doors, sliding doors, as well as doors in the front. And I've found 1, 2, 3, 4 Revit families, right? You download these families, they'll be in your downloads folder like they are now. And these 4 Revit families are brand new Revit families, which I'm going to load into our project. The reason we're going to do this is because there's none currently in the project, right? When you go and try to select a door, there's none which I like. So what we're going to do is, as you're about to place the door, you can actually click load family, right? And when you click load family, it's going to ask you where you've saved this. So you can go to your downloads folder and you can select that family wherever you've downloaded it, right? But I'll show you an alternative. Instead of actually doing that, what I'll do is show you an alternative by just going to the Revit family, which you have in your downloads folder. If you just drag and drop this into your project, it'll actually load it in. So if it's a family, if you're downloading from one of the websites, it'll be an older version of Revit. In this case, it upgraded from 2017 to 2024, which is what I'm using now. And it's loaded it in, and it's also opened the modify place door command. So right now I can just hover over a wall and it'll actually place it, right? So if I click this, it'll place it. It'll say none of the created elements are visible in the reflected ceiling plan. So what I've realized is from my previous video, I actually have a ceiling plan open instead of a ground floor plan. So you should actually go to ground floor, close this ceiling plan, and now you can see that door, right? If you go to a 3D view, because you probably should have one open, click the door on your keyboard, type in BX, and you'll see that door showing. Let's change this from realistic to shaded so that we can actually see things and it's not going to start lagging, right? So this is the door that we've just added in. As you can see, this is like a door that has a glass pane sort of on the side, and you can open it. It has a big steel handle which you can open the door with, and I just got this from bimobject.com. So you can select any door you want and you can just drag and drop it into your project, and you'll be able to open and you'll be able to load it in pretty much, right? The first thing I want to say is that when you select a door, when you place a door on your floor plan, you'll be able to place it and it'll tell you your sill height. And your sill height is the height which it's going to be from the elevation. So from the ground floor elevation, from 0 elevation in this case, because we're on the ground floor plan, what's the height going to be? It's going to start at 0, right? And that makes sense because if you take a section view and you put a section there, you go to view, you'll see that that door is actually placed on that elevation, right? You will notice that the way that I modeled this, I actually extended that brickwork down past the ground floor just slightly, just so that the floor would sit and the foundation would sit properly. But if you were modeling this, you would probably have that brickwork sitting just on 0 to make more sense, right? In this case, don't let this fool you. The brickwork is down, but the ground floor slab finishes on this 0 level, right? So as you open the door, if you go to 3D view, as you open the door, you're going to be walking into that wood finish that you can see, even though it might look different over here, right? We might have a step or something. So as you can see, we've placed that door there. What you can do is you can actually move the door around using the arrow keys on your keyboard. You can go left and you can go right. You can also move the door just by dragging it and dropping it there. What I usually like to do is I want to constrain this between this grid line and this grid line. So the way that I'll do that is by placing a dimension from here to the center. You'll see that if you try to go to the center of that family, it'll have like a small dot, and that's denoting the center of that door. Back to here, you'll see that if you can now click this, you can nudge it over to the left until you get something which is similar, right? So I'm trying to get this to be equal to this. So if we make this 2750, right, and this is 2750, they're both equal, right? So right now it says EQ and there's a line through it. You can actually move this, whoops, you can actually move this door left or right just because it hasn't been constrained, right? However, what you'll realize is if this is 2750 and this is 2750 and we click this EQ, it's going to make this equal. So if I try to move this door now to the side, it's going to give me an error saying the constraints are not satisfied. So this is really good. If you're placing a door and a window, you should always try to set up constraints so that if something moves and something is off center, then it'll come up with an error later on. So it's not going to change much and it's not going to look ugly, right? So what you can do after this is you can actually delete this and you can click OK, and this will stay constrained, right? So if you try to move this, it's going to say it's coming out of the constraint. What do you want to do? The constraint isn't satisfied. So I usually like to do that when I'm setting up any doors or windows and I'm placing anything, just because it's good to have everything constrained, especially if you're dealing with it the same way I am, setting up proper grid lines and making all the walls aligned, right? One thing I did notice is that I actually placed this internal partition incorrectly. That internal partition, according to our floor plan, has to line up with that grid line, and I haven't done it like that. So that foyer should only be the width of between this grid line and this grid line, around 5.5 meters. So I'm just going to move this and I'm going to align it to this grid line. So I'm going to zoom in and click the center, and that's going to move that. And what you'll realize is if you go to your 3D view, it will automatically adjust your ceiling, because you know your ceiling goes around that partition. But since the ceiling was automatically selected and automatically created, it actually went around that partition. So it got adjusted automatically, which is really good. So let me just tell you a few basics about the doors and about any Revit families. When you load in a Revit family, you can click this edit type. And in this edit type, you can actually change the height of anything. You can change the width of anything. And just the way that these Revit models or families have been set up, you can usually change the height and the width. And there's some additional things like door leaf height, clear opening height. The main things is the height and the width, right? If you want to change something for aesthetic purposes. So if you load in a window, a sliding door, a normal door, you're going to be able to change the height and the width by going to edit type, right? So what we'll do now is we'll add in our sliding door to the back. And the way I'm going to do that is I have this sliding door family. I'm going to drag it in. It's going to upgrade from 2018 to 2024. And once that's done, I can go up here and I can place this in the center. All right, close enough. Technically, I would actually try to constrain this from here to the center. All right. And you can delete this. So now this is constrained, right? So if you try to move it, you can't move it anymore. Let's go to our 3D view and open one of those 3D views so we can see everything as we do it, which is a pretty good idea. So we've placed our sliding door, and if we extend our view this way and this way, all the way back, you can see that we've placed our sliding door. But you will notice that in this house specifically, our ceiling is actually at 3300. It's very high. So let's actually change a property of this sliding door. Let's go edit type and let's make this very high. Let's make this the sliding door height go from 2200 to around if this is going to be 3,300, the ceiling, we want to have probably around at least 2,800 as the height, which is a really big sliding door. And let's also increase the width. So if we go to edit type here, we can increase our width from around 2,800 to 3,000, because we know that all these doors are going to be 3,000 millimeters, right? This is a sliding door, but these ones are just going to be normal windows, and I don't want to put sliding doors here. I want them to be full height windows or very tall windows from the bottom to the very top, but they're not going to be sliding. But this one is going to be sliding. So in order to load these other families in, what I'll do is I'll use this other double window. So I loaded in from Revit family, I downloaded a double window and a single window, right? The single window I'm going to use in bathrooms and toilets. The double window I'm going to use in other places like the ground floor and the upstairs, pretty much where everything is, so we can see out really, really well. So let's bring this into the project just by dragging it into this view. It's going to upgrade from 2015 to 2024. And what I'll do after that is I'll place one here, and pretty much on every single block on the grid line, so that we can get it similar to how we've specified on our floor plan. So the first thing I'll do is, by the way, as you place this, it actually tells you which way it's going to open. So right now, it says that the window is going to open inside the house, which is not what I want. If I move my mouse down, it flips to outside the house. So now you can place this, right? And you'll notice that this is just a normal window, but I don't want this to be this type of window. I want it to be really, really tall. I want it to actually be the same height as this. This is at 2,800, so let's make this also 2,800. So let's edit this type and let's make the height 2,800. So we're editing this window right now to have custom dimensions, 3,000 and 2,800. If I click OK, that's gonna set up like that. And if you wanted to constrain this to the center of those grid lines, you go from here to the center to this grid line, and you place this, and then you click this EQ, and it's just gonna constrain it to the center. And you can get rid of this, or you can keep it. It's up to you, right? For now, we'll just get rid of it because I'm not interested in having dimensions. I'll do the dimensions later all at once. So at that point, you can just... Oh, this is one more thing that I've noticed, is that this is not at the very bottom. I want this to be along with my grid line, or like my level G. So let's select this, and this sill height, which is how high the bottom of the sill is, I want it to be 0, because then it's going to align perfectly. And that looks good, because from inside the house, if we drop this ceiling a bit, you'll notice that this is starting to resemble a bit more of like an open space. You have a sliding door here, you have a big window here, right? And this big window you can look outside with. And I'm just going to do CO and copy this. I'm going to click this grid line, right? And I'm going to paste it on every single grid line. And what that's going to do is it's just going to make sure that it's in the center, right? They're all in the center. You can constrain these later if you want when you're dimensioning everything. But the reason I copied it from the grid line is so I can paste with reference to that grid line. 3 and 2. So now we have big windows which we've placed, which is starting to look really nice. And we have a sliding door here, right? Let's add the windows that we need for this side of the house. So I believe there is a very similar window down here. So we have another one which is 3,000 here, 3,000 and 3,000. So we have windows all around the house actually. So what we'll do is we'll go back to architecture, window, and with this double window, we've actually edited this. So let's place it here, here and here. And since I didn't place it correctly,
I have to dimension this and constrain it. So let's go to the center. Let's go to here. Let's go to the center. Let's go to here. I don't really care about constraining it that much, but I do want to make sure that it's in the center. So the easiest way to do that is by placing the dimensions and constraining these. And then you can go select all these, click delete, right? If you just want to have those. So, one more thing, you want to make sure that these are not offset from the house. So you want to make sure they're at 0 or something. Okay, so you have huge windows which span the whole house. This is actually looking a bit weird because I can see that just from the front of the house we have a door, but our windows are much bigger, and I think it would be better to have, to be honest, just by looking at this on a 3D perspective, to have the windows the same height as the door. So if we click this door and we try to see how tall this is 2100, right? So there's two options we can do. We can make this door bigger. So if we try to make this 2500, that's going to increase the height of the door. And let's actually reduce this to 2500. So let's go here and let's go edit type, and let's make this 2500. And since we're not duplicating, right? Since we aren't duplicating this, we're editing the existing family. That's just going to edit all of these except for the sliding door, because the sliding door is a different family. So we have to edit that separately as 2500. Oh shit, it's maybe 2500. Okay. Cool, so we have everything on the ground floor properly added. One additional thing, and this is actually in my house, is a splash top. So in the kitchen, this is the kitchen by the way, this area over here. Let me change this to realistic so it looks better. If we look at the kitchen, right, you have sort of a stove here, a sink here. Let's just say that the stove was in the center, or the sink was in the center, whatever's in the center. You can add a small window over here, which is around 2200 wide, and it can be like a small sliver of a window rather than being a really big window, because this is like a splash top. And the reason for this is because above it you'll have your exhaust for your kitchen, and then you'll have cupboards all above it. So you can't really have a big window there, but we can have a small splash top so we can see the outside as we're cooking, right? So a lot of houses will have that. What I'll do is I'll just edit my existing family and add a splash top. So for this, what I'm going to do is I will add a window, and instead of a double window, let's do a single window, because I know my splash top is just going to be one pane of like glass which is going throughout the whole thing. So for that, let's load in our single window, and I'm going to use this for my bathrooms as well, but I'll use this for my splash top. So it's upgrading from 2015 to 2024. As that loads in, we can go over here, single window, and we can just place that. You might want to change this to 0. Oh, not 0, actually. This height will be around, let's just say like 1 meter. And this is an instance where you want to change the height to something suitable, because you want to make sure that this window is going to be above the cabinetry, and then there's a stove on top of the cabinetry or a sink, and then you can see the splash top, right? So in this case, additionally, by the way, if you want to place a window, you can even place it on a 3D view. If you just click randomly, it's just going to place. But the reason I don't like doing that is it's not a good practice. You're not going to be able to adjust properly the height and the dimensions and all of that, right? What we'll do is, I want to make this an equal distance from here to the center to here. And then I want to edit this. And I want to edit this to be, I want to call it a splash top. I don't want to call it a single window. So I'll duplicate it, edit it, and then replace what I just placed, right? So duplicate, we'll call this a splash top.
And then I want to make this width around 2200, and I want to make the height around 500, right? So it's going to be a small 1/2 meter big window, and it's going to be like 2 meters wide. And it's going to be just in front while you're washing your hands, you can see it in front. That's the idea. So if you click OK, now this window goes like this. You can see that the window is openable, right? So you might be able to edit. It depends on how this has been constructed. It says opening symbol pan section. What happens if you get rid of that? Yeah, if you get rid of that, it shows that it's not something which is openable. So you can select the properties and you can actually edit the properties. But it depends on how this has actually been created. But this is sort of the idea which we're going after. You should have a kitchen sink here, or actually a cooktop here, and there's a splash top here. There's cabinetry up here. There can probably be a fridge here, and there can be more cabinetry on this side. So this is how we would construct this splash top. This should probably not be openable, so we can remove those symbols. This is a sliding door, so we should keep that. What happens if you open that? No, nothing happens. These over here, I don't want to make them openable. I just want to keep them closed. Maybe they can just be slightly jarred, but not completely open. And that's starting to look pretty decent. And everything looks symmetrical because we have our windows, which is the same height as a door because we edited everything. And then we have our splash top over here. So one more thing which I'll do now is I'll actually start to... I can either add the doors in on lower ground, which is probably a better idea, just because we're on this level. So what I'll do is I'll go to my door and I'll select a door. I'll select this single door, which is 2-1. Let's select the largest door, right? And then you can place it anywhere you want. So if you click this floor plan, you can place it, you can flip the section just by moving left or right. And if you want to change the way the door opens, you can click spacebar. If you click spacebar, it changes the way the door opens. So as you can see on the 3D view, it's changing the direction of the door handle. So let's place it like that. Let's say the door opens like that. And you can actually change this distance like 100 mils. So there's a little bit of wall before you place the door, which sort of makes sense, right? So you open the door like that. There's going to be a mirror here, and then there's going to be like a toilet here. An additional thing that you can do is you can actually take this door and you can copy it and you can place it over here. And what is that? That is going to be, if you've constructed that properly, that's going to be the closet which is underneath the staircase, right? So I've cut the top off just because the section box, but you should be able to see that that door opens into like a storage area inside, as you can see. We made that in our previous video. So for now, I don't want that to be there because I don't want any storage space. We're just going to have the door here, and we're going to add an additional door in over here. That's going to be like your storage space in there, right? There's two ways that I can go about adding a door to the pantry, because we know this is the pantry area. Usually, well, in my house, we don't actually have a door for the pantry. We just have an opening in our wall. So the way that we'd create an opening is by using the split elements command. So on your keyboard, if you type in SL, then you can start to split things. You can click there, you can click here, and you can see it's going to give you like a measuring of how much you're trying to split it by. So let's just say you want to split it by like 1200, right? Once you've split those things, you'll realize that that's just a bit of wall, as if it was placed separately. So you can click it and you can click delete. And what that's going to do is it's going to create an opening where now it's just it's an opening where you can
go in, right? So you might want to actually extend this wall over here. So the way this might work is you have cabinetry, which is just going to be flush with that wall, and it's going to continue this way. And then there's going to be an opening over here of around just over a meter where you can go in, and that's going to be your pantry, and you'll have a bunch of cupboards over here, you have a bunch of cupboards over here, then you'll have another door which you can have like some storage area inside there, right? Or you can just get rid of this door altogether, extend this wall backwards, and then you'll have an additional storage over there with no door. But if you want to have the secret storage area, you can put it in there, right? So that's how you'd add doors, and that's how you'd add windows. And I've done this for the ground floor, and everything is starting to look good. Everything's starting to come together. The last thing that I will probably do is just extend this view up and do the exact same thing, but for the upper levels. So the way that we do this is, again, remember, it's a floor plan, not a ceiling plan. So we go to level 1. And I'm going to bring that over here. And let's start by placing our windows. And the windows which I want to place is my double window. Let's place it and see what happens. So if we place our double window up here, what you'll see is that that double window is actually edited. It's actually a different height to what we want it to be, because we want the double windows on the top to be actually like 1.5 meters tall. We don't want them to be as tall as the ones on the bottom, because the ones on the bottom are for like aesthetic purposes. You can see the whole backyard, you might be able to see the whole front yard. They want to be like full height, but the ones on the top, you don't want to make them full height. So what I'll do is I'll actually edit this type, and then I'll duplicate it so that when I change this, it's not going to change everything on the ground floor. And I'm going to call this bedroom window, right? And this is going to be around 1.5 meters high, and the width is going to be, let's say, it'll be 3 meters. Yeah, so you have something which is 1.5 meters high and then 3 meters wide. If you click OK, then this is going to become smaller, hopefully. There we go. And as you can see, you have something which is smaller and something which is larger, and we've created them based on the same family which we downloaded from the internet, right? So what you can do now is you can nudge this into place, or you can align this the exact same method that we used before. You take this, you go to the center, and you make sure that the dimension is aligned, and then you can delete this. And if you want to do this really quickly, then after that, you take this, you copy the grid line, and then you can paste it again here. And not here, because remember, there has to be a balcony there, so this is going to be a sliding door. So you have one bedroom here, one bedroom here. You want to then use that same window, so double window bedroom, and I'll place it over here. And we have one here. And this is all according to the floor plan, by the way. I'm not making this up. And then we have one here, right? So if we look at our floor plan again, just for reference, you have on the second floor, you have one, as you're going up the staircase, you have that big window, which you can see everything out of. You have one in the family room, and you have one in the hallway. So, and you have one on the side here, and then one on the back here. And you have one just pretty much the size of the bedroom, just on the back of the beds. So what we'll do is we'll go back here and we'll add some additional walls just by copying this, placing this here, and we'll add the window again, the bedroom window, to the back here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this has been placed in the center. I want to make sure that I'm centering these. So let's just place these grid lines. Let's go to the center here. And since I'm going to the center of that wall, I'll go to the center of here and make this equal. And I'll make this equal. And then I'll delete this and this for aesthetic purposes. And so now things are starting to look pretty good. In your upper level, as we come up the stairs, you have a big window where you can see the outside, right? And then you have a window near the family room. As you come here, you can study. There might be like a desk over here, a desk, and then you have a window. This is all at 800, by the way, above from the floor. But I'd probably say it would need to be a bit higher than that. Let me just bring this down. Because think about it like this. If you put a desk here, how tall is a desk? Let's just say that a desk is like 1 meter. If a desk is around 1 meter, then you probably want to have around 1.2 or like at least 1 meter instead of having 800 millimeters. So what we'll do is I'm going to select every single window that I placed, but I want to select every single window in that entire view. So if I go select all instances in the view, it'll select all of the windows which I placed, and I can change this to around, like, let's just say like 1100, which is 1.1. So that'll raise it slightly. So now you have a whole meter and a bit, right? And you have a small section above. So you have space for your bed frame, like your bed frame over here. And that's starting to look pretty good. I would put a sliding door over here. So let's go back and add door. Let's change this to sliding door. Let's place it over here. And then let's click this and constrain it. So put a dimension from here to here, the center, go over here, click this, equalize it, delete this, okay. And then we're going to make sure that's at 0 height, and that's starting to look pretty good. Let's go over to this side and see what that looks like, if that looks ugly or if that looks alright. What I'm realizing is that this height of this window is not in line with that sliding door. So there's two options here. Either I have to lower that height of the window, or I have to change the height of that sliding door. But I don't want to change the height of the sliding door because I've changed the height of the sliding doors on the bottom. So let's see what sort of change I would have to make in this case. Let's create a section view here. And these are the things you need to keep in mind when you're designing a house. You want to make sure a lot of things are in line so it looks aesthetic, right? So if we do like a dimension to the top of this, from here to here, it's around 155. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to reduce the height of this by 155. So the easiest thing to do is, again, go over here, select all instances inside the view. It's going to select everything, not in ground floor, sorry, level 1. Select all instances in the view. It's going to select everything, but the thing is it didn't select the sliding door because it's a completely different family. And here you can, let's see if this works, minus 155. Okay. Equals 1100. Equals 1100 minus 155. Yeah, there we go. So it's going to change it to 945. And hopefully they'll pull everything down so everything's now in line. So we have our door here. We have all our windows on our ground floor, which is going around the house. And we have our smaller windows inside each of our rooms. I'd say let's add our bathroom windows. So you want to make sure that it's at the same height as this and it's the same distance as this as well. So if we go back to our floor plan, we know that we have a single window, and that single window is going to be placed here and here. We also know that we have a single window in our floor plan, which is in the master bedroom somewhere here. And then since this is our walk-in closet, we have windows here, as well as maybe we have some in the bathroom. Let's have a look. Yeah, we have one in the master bathroom here, like a full window. But for the master bathroom, I'm thinking about putting in one of these windows in there. So let's put that window in. And if there's a conflict, it'll say that there's a conflict, but I want to change this to a smaller size. So I'm going to say bathroom, master bathroom window. And I'm going to change this from a width of 3,000 to around 2,000. It's going to be 2 meters, which is perfect. And we can put it over here. And then we have these windows, which need to be raised because as you can see, they're not in the correct height. So let's select those 2 windows, as well as any other windows that we've placed, like this one and this one. Probably this one. Oh, not that one. And let's change this to 945 because that's what everything else was at. It's going to raise everything up, hopefully. It's not in line. So let's see what height this is at. I remember specifying that this height was 1,500. So let's actually change all of these single windows to 1,500 above from, because it's 1,200 right now. So that's going to increase the height from here to here. It's going to give it enough length so that they're all going to be aligning. So that's starting to look pretty good. You have your bathroom that has a window each. You can have a bathtub on the bottom here. You have a window in there. You have your master bathroom, which has a bigger window. Makes sense because it's like a master bathroom. You have a shower in here, which will probably not have any window, and then you'll have a toilet in here. So after that, I would say we missed this one. This is 945. So I would say that we've pretty much done adding all our windows to the upper level. All we have to do now is add our doors. So first of all, I want to make sure that I select all instances in the view and make these... Oh, these will be fine. These can be openable. I would say this is fine to leave as openable. But I don't want to have them looking like they're opening doors, right? I don't like this family. So I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to get rid of that ugly opening that we have. So let's get rid of that symbol, right? And then let's do the same thing with this family as well. Let's get rid of that symbol. And it'll be specified in the door schedule or the window schedule if they're going to be openable or not and the type of it. So we don't need to show that in the floor plan right now. So the next thing we'll do is we'll just add our doors in. So we go to our door, just go to our normal door, the biggest one, and then we'll do one of these, add this one in here, and we'll do the exact same thing. You got a door here, here, here. This one opens this way. Open, open. Something like this. You want there to be a door opening like that, a door opening like this, but I want to flip the door, so I'll click this. It looks better. And then there'll be a door this way opening. got a door opening this way. And there's a few things which I do want to edit here, right? So the first thing is I actually want to have an opening over here. I want my walk-in closet to actually not have a door. I don't want to have to walk in my bedroom and then have to open a door and then open another door. I want this to actually be open. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to extend this wall backwards so that it's just overlapping there. We just have them open. So this is like a decision which I made later, and I don't like how the floor plan, it doesn't look nice in 3D view. So I'm going to create a floor, I'm going to make something similar to that so that you can have your closet in that small corner. You'll have like a small storage area over there, and then you can have your little bathroom in there. So let's do the same thing here. What I do want to do is maybe I'll try splitting my elements here and here and deleting those and seeing what that looks like. That's around 1400. This is around 1500. So let's just make this a bit bigger. Let's make this 1500. And then that looks the same as that. So that's starting to look good. So in the master bedroom, that looks good with that sort of little look in there. So let's extend this view in so we can see what it looks like as if you were inside. So yeah, that looks pretty good. So you have a small walk-in closet there, you have a small walk-in closet there, you have the bathroom where you can go in and have a shower and go to the toilet and everything, and that is all going to be connected or stopped by this wall. So I do want to add a wall from here to here and have this little landing strip as part of the master bedroom. So what I'll do is I'll take this wall and just extend it. And then let's fix our 3D view here. Pull this back. So as you can see, I'm making small adjustments to my 3D view as I'm adding my doors in, because it starts to look different, and then you can start to see how things will look in the 3D view as everything is coming together. Let's add in an additional door here. So architecture, let's go to door and let's add this in. And yeah, so now you have a door which is going to be into your master bedroom. You have a bathroom in there, you have a toilet in there, you have a walk-in closet, a sliding door to go to the balcony, you have two windows in there, you have two bedrooms which are of similar size, right? And then you have two bathrooms which are attached to each of those bedrooms. And then you have a storage space over here. And what I did forget to do is add a way to get in to the second bedroom, which I realized the way that I've done this, I've blocked off my second bedroom. So this is actually wrong. I need to undo what I've just done here. Bring that. I need to attach, see how this floor plan is. I should probably attach the master bathroom. Oh, the door is over here. Okay, so there's a door over here, which allows you some space to go into the bedroom. So let's add in our door. Oops, not our wall, our door into our, something like that. And then let's add in a wall from here to here. Let's add in a door. Let's do like a double door here. See what that looks like. Alright, so that's starting to look pretty good. You have a double door into the bedroom. You have each of these two doors going into these two small bedrooms, which just by looking at it looks bigger, to be honest, than the master bedroom, but that's just the way this has been designed. And then you have a small storage space in there. You have two windows in the family area and the lounge and the study area over here. And everything is starting to look really good. If we extend this up now, so everything gets covered, you can see the top floor slab. You can see what it looks like from the front. Everything is in line. Everything is in line. From the side, similar sort of situation. From the back, similar sort of situation. Right? Everything seems to be in line here. Everything seems to be in line here. And if they're not, you might want to go and check the heights, because this might not be in line with this. But, you know, check the heights and see if everything is in the correct location. So that's all there is to adding doors and windows in Revit. The main thing you need to understand is that if there's nothing inside your current project file, you load them from the website, Beam Object or Beam City or something, and then you can edit them, you can duplicate them, you can add them in. Make sure that you rename them as you duplicate them. Ideally, the best practice is not to do it the way I did it, where I called it like bedroom window, because sometimes we place it in areas that aren't bedrooms. The best practice is to name them like the dimension, like 1500 by 300, and then you just make that specific dimension, because then as you click on it later, you know just by looking at the name what the dimension is going to be. So then make sure that once you've placed everything is aligned to the top, and you place the doors correctly as well, so that you can open them in the correct way without anything getting blocked, right? In the next video, what we'll do is we'll start to add a roof and then tie everything up and make this actually look like a house even more. But right now, the interior is looking pretty good in this house as we've currently modeled it. We've made a 3D model placing our floor slabs and walls and everything, and we've also done our ceiling. The only thing left, if we extend this up, is to actually attach a roof to level 2, right? So the way which I'm going to do that is I'll go to either my ground floor or my level 1 floor plan. I actually haven't created a level 2, but it doesn't matter. Let's just go to our ground floor, because we're going to use this as an outline to place our roof. The way that we place our roof is by going to the architecture tab, and there's a roof command over here. If you click this drop down, there's roof by footprint, which is what I'm going to use. And this is just going to allow you to select a footprint outside, and then the roof is going to use that as the bounding box, right? Don't worry about roof by extrusion or roof by face. Roof by footprint is what we're going to use, and it's what is mainly used most of the time. So let's click roof by footprint, and what we'll do is we'll actually place a boundary line. I'm going to click boundary line, use the rectangle, and place it from here to here, right? And that wasn't really accurate. Let's actually try to make this accurate. So I'm going to click escape, and as I click escape, it's going to take me back into this editing mode, and I can actually adjust this to be a certain distance overhanging from the side wall. So we know that the roof needs to be overhanging from the walls slightly, and I'm going to say that it's going to overhang by 500 mils, right? They're going to tell you the details of this, but for now, just for fun, I'm just going to say that it's 500 mils. So let's adjust all these to be 500 mils, which is like half a meter. And then this final one here, it's also going to be 500. And if you click OK, what that's going to do is there's a few options here, right? It says defines roof slope. If you have that selected and you specify a slope, what it's going to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 sides are going to have a 30-degree slope, and it's all going to move towards the center and converge. So I'll show you what I mean. If I click enter, it's going to look strange here. The reason it looks strange is actually because I've placed this on the wrong level. If you go to 3D view, the roof will be in the middle of the house. So you want to click this, and instead of base level, you want to attach this to level 2. And it didn't actually ask, the strange thing is it didn't actually ask if you wanted to attach this to level 2, because I didn't have my roof plan open, because I didn't create a level 2 plan. But this is just to show that you can actually change this even after you place it. So if you extend this view up, the view range, you can see what I was talking about. Let's extend this all the way up. You can see the easiest way to edit
in order to see these options is by clicking the roof. You can see that there's a slant, there's a slant, there's a slant, and there's a slant. All four sides are coming in and converging at a 30-degree angle. If you double click this, you'll see what I'm talking about. That the slope is 30 degrees. And you can change this slope to any slope you want. You can change it to like 15. You click enter. What that's going to do is when you click OK, that slope is going to change. So it's not actually as aggressive as it was before. And you can also do this manually by just pulling this up. And that's just going to change this slope to a strange one. It's not going to have it specified. So you can change it back to whatever you want, and it'll just change it back. So you can do it manually just by using the 3D sort of view, or you can just do it by specifying an actual slope in here. But as soon as you start to do it manually, the slope specification will go away. So I don't recommend doing that. If you want to just do, this is a hip roof, I believe. If you want to have a gable roof, which is just you want to have a slope on this side and not the two sides which are the shortest, then what you would do is you would double click this and you would select this side and you would select the other side and you would select defines roof slope. If you uncheck that, by the time you click enter, you'll see that this now turns into a gable roof instead of, or like a gable roof, I don't know how to pronounce it, instead of a hip roof, right? And what you can do now is you can click this and you can go attach top base, and then you can select this, oops, attach top base, and you can select this, and then that'll make sure that the wall extends all the way up so that this looks as if we would actually construct it, right? This is how it will look like in real life. But I don't want that, so I'm just gonna do Control Z, so I undo that. Because what I actually want is to add those things back. So if I double click this, I'm gonna select this and select this. I'm gonna click that I want the roof slope, and I'm just gonna say that I want it to be 30 degrees. You can actually play around with any of this. You can say that this is gonna be 30 degrees and then this is gonna be 15 degrees on the side. Whatever you do, it will edit the roof. If you want to make something more aggressive, like you want to make this 30 degrees and you want to make this side 10 degrees, if you click OK, it's just not going to converge at the center. It's going to converge at the side, right? And so you can edit the roof to anything you want, to make it look like anything you want just by these commands. You can turn the slope on, you can turn it off, or you can change the angle. And anything is possible just with those two specifications that we give, right? That's honestly all you need to know about the roof. Everything after this is just going to be about detailing, making sure that the roof is integrated with the walls and everything surrounding in the project. So let's change this to what we actually want it to be. So I'm going to select all four of these. I'm going to say that this is going to be, instead of varies, I'll say that it's like 30 degrees. And then I will select OK. And this is going to create that roof which I want. That's actually too much for me. Let's change this to like 15. Okay, so it's giving me OCD. I still don't like that. Okay, so 20 looks like something which we can work with. I like the look of this. What we're going to do now is we can actually select this and change this to any type of roof we want. So this is a roof pitched roof. You can edit your type and select structure and actually see what the material is out of. It's got an air layer, it's got metal purlins, steel purlins, it's got roofing standing seam. These aren't actually tiles. So let's actually change this to like a roofing tile. I think we have one of them over here. If we select this, I think this will be a tile, yeah. These are going to be like roof tiles. And let's just say that that's what I want in this house. So you can load that in, or you can select what you have. You can just go to the internet and type in roof family and you can find something, and then you can load it into your project and make it look good, right? For now, I'm just going to use what they have, and let's do some additional things. So as you can see, this roof, if we go down here and try to zoom in, there's actually a distance between the top of that brick and the underside of that roof. So what I actually want to do is I want to extend all these bricks, right? Select all of them. So let's select this face,
this face and this face and select attach to the top. I'm going to select this roof. And what that's going to do is it's just going to extend everything up so that when we go to our elevation view, or let's go to a section view so I can show you what's actually happening. Let's put this on the side, go to this view. You can see that this roof is now, or this wall is now on an angle and it's cutting into that roof instead of being, initially it was like over here. It just stopped underneath the roof. Now it extends all the way up to the top, right? So that's one of the first things you want to make sure that you're doing. The second thing is after you've done all those things and made the roof the way that you want to make it, you want to add some railings and gutters in. So the way that I would do that, actually before I do that, so if we come to the architecture tab and then we go to the roof drop down, we use this roof by footprint, but there's 3 extra underneath this small faint line. There's roof soffit, roof fascia, roof gutter. We're going to use all these 3 in order to make the roof complete, right? We need to add a roof soffit. The roof soffit is pretty much this small little layer. It looks like a wall or like a small ceiling in between the brick and the small triangle that we have. So if we have a small triangle, which is like the roof slant, and then we have our brick wall, which is like this, the roof soffit is the small, my thumb, which is going to go in between, and it's going to create that small little triangle. So if we go back to our section, you can see that there's a small little triangle that needs to be created here. We have that wall which extends all the way up, but we need a small little roof soffit. So the way that we're going to do that is by adding this thing called a roof soffit. And I'm just going to create that roof soffit and add it in, right? So let's create a roof soffit. You want to be in the floor plan in order to create this. But let's actually create a roof sheet, right? Because we can't actually see the view in order to place the soffit. So the way that I'll do that is I'll go to my view. I'll create not a sheet, but a view, because I only have ground floor and level 1. So if I go to, where is it? Oh, plan views, floor plan, level 2, because I don't have that yet. If I click OK, it's going to create a level 2 plan. But the thing is, there's going to be some things which I'm missing, right? So this looks strange because it looks like it's cut in the middle. The reason for that is actually because we haven't set up our view range. Our view range is sort of like how much we can see inside the view. And the way that we edit that is just by going to the side. I'll create a whole video about this, but I'll give you a quick overview and understanding of how we can actually edit this so that you can copy me and you can have a high level understanding of this, because this gets pretty important. If we go to a elevation view, you'll see that you have level 2, right? And then the top of that roof is at a distance of around 2800, right? So I just want you to keep that in mind. The top of that is around 2800. The reason it looks really strange here when we open our floor plan and it doesn't look like we're looking from the top is because if you go down here to view range, it says the top is at 2300. So what I want to do is this cut plane and this top, for now, I want you to understand that they have to be above 2800. So I'm going to make this cut plane at 3000, and I'm going to make this top at something which is much larger than that. So let's just say 4000. And both of these are going to be above. So that means that when we look down, we're going to see the complete roof. Click OK. And you can see the complete roof and how it looks, right? If you want to make this realistic, then you'll see exactly the indentation and everything there. So let's change this back to shaded. What we can do is you can click this and you can go HH. It's going to hide it. But the advantage of this is it's going to show us our walls. And that gives us a good lining so that we can actually see where we can place our soffit. So what I'm going to do is, let's bring this back. So there's 2 things which I want to use to place my soffit. I want my soffit to run from, if you can see this properly, there's there's a distance between that wall and then the outer edge of that roof. So I want to use the outer edge of this roof as an outline for the outside of the soffit, and I want to use the outside of the wall as the inside for the soffit. So I'll show you what I mean. This will become obvious when we go here. So let's go to architecture, let's go to roof, and let's go to soffit. Now we have to create an outline for the soffit. The soffit is just going to be a small thin strip which goes around between the roof and the wall, the brick wall. So if we click boundary line, we can use this rectangle to create a small strip. We're going to start at the outside, which is going to be where the roof finishes. And then the inside is actually going to be, if we can try to find it, it has to be where that wall is. So the way I'm going to get to that is by selecting the roof, if it's possible, if it lets me. It's not going to let me. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just generically place a rectangle for now inside here and click OK, right? And that's going to create that soffit. But what I want to do is I want to hide the roof, and then I want to edit this soffit. So if I go back here, you'll see that this soffit has been placed, and it's a 300 millimeter soffit, which is way too thick. But we have a section view and then a view that we want to edit our soffit in. So this is what I'm going to do. Let's place this. Let's double click this soffit. And when I double click this soffit, I want to edit it on the level 2 floor plan. So let's open this view, and it's going to create that outline so that I've actually hid the roof, but now I can actually take this and apply this to the wall. And I can move this back. And what that's going to allow me to do is click OK. And now that soffit technically starts at the wall and ends at the roof. The only issue is that soffit is way too thick, and usually in houses the soffit is only around 10 mils. So what I'm going to do is click edit type, duplicate this, make this like a 10 mil soffit. Click OK, and then let's edit the structure and make this 10 and click OK. So it's just going to be some generic material of 10 mils thick. And that makes sense because now if we go to our 3D view, let's go back to this view and click HR so we can bring back our roof. If we go to our 3D view, you can see that you have your roof that you've placed, but you have this soffit which is now underneath. So if we look out on this window, we can see, and we look up, we just see that small soffit which attaches from our brick to the underside of that roof, right? And then that roof is slanting. So after we've created our soffit, which is from here to here, 10 mils thick, the next thing we're going to do is add our gutters. The way that we add our gutters is by going to roof and adding gutter. But the gutter sits on a fascia. So we have to click fascia, and then we have to select the side of, you know how on the side of this roof there's like a white outline? That's actually where the fascia sits. So if you select this and you select this, it's going to add them on those two sides. Let's rotate over and let's do the same thing for this side and this side. So now you have fascias all around the roof, okay? The last thing you want to do is, after you've exited out of the fascia command, is go to roof and adding a gutter. And you want to add the gutter to the bottom of that fascia. So there we go. That looks perfect. And that's covered up that ugly white strip, and it's added gutters all around the roof. So everything looks perfect now. We've added our roof in. We've been able to modify the roof so we have the slope as what we'd like. We can turn it into a gable roof or a hip roof just by changing the sides. We can change the slope. And then we added a soffit underneath. We edited the material of the soffit. And then the last two things we did was we added a fascia on the side. Whoops. And then we added some gutters all around it. I accidentally was in the editing mode, so I added an additional gutter. So I need to do that again. So let's add gutters. 1, 2, 3, 4. escape, escape. Okay, so we've exited out of it. So we have gutters all around, we have a soffit, we have a roof, and we have a fascia. And these are the elements that we need in a roof. And we've pretty much got to the end of modeling our house. As you can see, we have a pretty full-fledged house now. We have an entrance, we have our ceiling spaces properly like available for any MEP ductwork or pipework or anything inside there. We have our walls and windows properly modeled. I think there's one last thing that we actually forgot, and I'm going to do that now, is we forgot to add a balcony over here because that's part of our floor plan. And I think we also need to be careful about this space between the ceiling space and the wall here, because this ceiling space I realize is still open just from when we added our ceilings in, right? So let's edit those two final things and finish off this floor plan once and for all, so that in the next video we can start doing presentation and we can go and actually view all of these things in a 3D viewer and do like a walk around of the whole house and see what we've actually modeled. So this is going to go really quickly because you guys understand how to model very well now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this floor plan, and on level 1 I'm going to edit this, right? What I will do is I'm not going to edit the current floor plan. I'm going to add an additional floor, and it's going to be an architectural floor. It's going to be floor with carpet, wood. Maybe it'll be like a wood finish for the outside, and then it's going to go boundary line from the outside of that brick. That brick will probably sit on top of, for aesthetic purposes, I'm just going to place it and not worry too much about what it looks like. And then click OK. And then let's go to our 3D view and see what that looks like. Let's change this to shaded. In case your computer starts to go really slow, you might want to change things to shaded instead of realistic. And now you have your little balcony which you can go out on. The last thing we probably need to do is go back to our level 1 and then add some railings for this. So we've already done this before, so this should be very simple. Sketch a path for our railing, and I'm just going to sketch it on top of that, like a rectangle on top of that slab which I created. Click OK, but what that'll do is it'll actually create too many, because I don't want the railing for the back, because this should be the sliding door, so we don't need that. Let's delete that. Click OK. Let's go back to our 3D view, and let's change that to a glass railing, because I want to have some glass on the outside so it looks nice. So that is done. I think it should be sitting a little bit on the inside, so let's actually go back to our railing and let's offset this, sort of nudge it towards the inside, something like that. You don't want to make it too much, so you don't want to waste too much space, but you get the idea. Just so when we present this, it starts to look legitimate. 3D view. So now the railing is actually sitting on top of the floor slab. And okay, so you have your balcony there. We're not going to worry too much about how that works and structurally how that works. This is just architecturally how everything will look aesthetic. And then the last thing we do want to do is fix up that 3D view in with the stairs, because I know that wherever I modeled the stairs, there was an issue with the ceiling, because you can see through that ceiling. So you want to go back to your level 1 plan, and over here you just want to extend. It's actually on the ground floor, so we have to open our ground floor plan, and you want to extend a wall, WA, from this to here. And this might get confusing, so let's pull this over to here and let's open it alongside the 3D plan. And let's only see what we need. So let's extend this brick wall, so you see it? Okay, so right now everything's been covered. We want this let's click front. We want this to not be attached to the ground floor. You want it to be offset at whatever ceiling height this is. So this is 3300. So you want to have this, and you want to have the base offset at 3300, and that's just going to pull that up, and then that's going to be aligned with there, and then this can stay. This needs to attach to that floor. This solves the issue of having an open ceiling space whenever we're going up the stairs. As we go up the stairs, you want to make sure that you can't actually see, so you want to have that small bulkhead area that is going to be joined there to the ceiling as well as the slab. So that is it. Those are the two final things that we needed to do that were lagging or left behind. We've actually modeled our first house completely. The only thing left is we can make this look better by adding this onto a site, and creating maybe like a garage or like a carport, and adding everything to the outside of the house. Everything on the inside is done. We can load in now tables, chairs, we can do kitchen detailing, we can do bathroom detailing, and we can start making the inside look really nice. But the overall general Revit model is complete for the entire house. What I do want to say is congratulations on making it this far and getting to the very end of this course. In the coming videos, I will actually take this model and I will extend it so that we start talking about sheets, setting sheets up, and properly dimensioning things, detailing the kitchen, detailing the bathroom, making sure everything looks good, as well as making sure that everything on the outside, like the topography of everything, is perfect, right? Adding trees into the outside and the landscaping and everything like that. And that's going to be in the advanced course. Alongside that, I will also create some office models as well as some multi-story like commercial type buildings, and I will go through the exact same exercise that I have with this on those commercial type buildings. So you can actually use this in your portfolio, and you can use that in your portfolio as well. Additionally, I'm going to be creating an MEP service model for this house, and that'll be in the coming videos, where I take the ceiling space that we created and I add some fans in there, I do some plumbing work, I add some lights in there, and I make everything a full-fledged house that we can actually go and construct in the real world, right? So in the next video, the final video, we're going to talk about presentation. I'm going to export this into a viewer so that we can actually see everything properly, and you're actually going to be able to send this to a job interviewing, like your job interviewer, or you're going to be able to show this to your boss, or at uni, or at a project, or anywhere. It's going to be one link that you can send to them, export this, and they can see this even on an incognito window. They don't need to have a Revit license. They don't need to have any accounts. You're going to be able to do a walkthrough and see everything with the materials that you've created in that viewer. So that's what we're going to do in the next video. And that's going to wrap everything up. And it's a really good skill to have. So I'll see you in that video. In this video, we're going to use a free Autodesk viewer to have a look at the 3D models that we've created, right? So I've created a residential project, a 2-story house, and I'm going to use the Autodesk viewer to have a look, go in, have a walkthrough, cut sections, and have a look, ultimately present this to the client in a very easy way. This is absolutely free. You can create an account for free, and you can send a link to someone, and they don't even need to create an account. They can open it using an incognito window, and they can just have a look and walk through and do everything after you've created it, right? So the first thing you want to do is when you go to viewer.autodesk.com, it's linked in the description, it'll ask you to sign in, and after that, it'll ask you to upload a new file. So this is the screen you will actually be greeted with. In this screen, you can actually bring in your folders or like your Revit files. So let's just say that I had a Revit file called doors and windows. I bring that in and it'll ask me, does this use more than one file? And what that's asking is, do you have any reference files, right? If you're modeling as an architect and you had your structural, you had your services, you had all these other reference files, do you want to add them in? Maybe you have a landscape, like a site plan, that's architect as well. So you can actually drag in anything else. So let's just say that I had another Revit file. I drag this one in, and it will say, okay, this is the parent file, the one that you did first, and then reference files, anything else that you bring in after, and it'll list them out
over here. You can bulk drag and drop and it will start listing them out. Once you click upload, it'll start uploading and processing and doing all these things, and it'll get it ready so that you can have a look at it. I'm not going to click upload because these aren't the files, and I've already done the file which I want to do. So I'm going to exit out of that. This is the file. Once you upload it, it'll be in your account for like 30 days and you can extend it. If you double click this, let's click this, it's going to start loading. And I'll show you the most important thing first, so that if you want to exit the video, you can do it after this. It's the first person walking mode. So once you click the first person walking mode, these are the things you need to know. You can go forward and backwards using the arrow keys or WASD. You can also use your scroll wheel to go forwards and backwards. You can look around using your mouse, and you can go up and down using Q and E. Okay, those are the main things. So I'm going to use my mouse and scroll in order to get just before that door, and I'm going to use Q to go down. All right, so as I'm going down, I'm just going to scroll in, and I'm going to click shift to go down faster. And what I can actually do is I can position myself in a way that's entering the door, and you can show your client this, and you can start walking through the door, and you can start showing your client, okay, this is what the inside of the house is going to be like. You can walk through here, that's like your living space, and then you can go back up here, and this is going to be your staircase. So let's go up using this staircase all the way up here. Let's try to turn. Okay, I'm up in the top level, which was unexpected. But you can actually go in into the master bedroom here. You can have a look around, see that, okay, that's the balcony that we've created. These are like the walk-in closets or wardrobes, and then you have a toilet inside here, right? And you can zoom out. You can see like the balcony on the outside. And that is the first person viewing mode. Apart from that, if you want to exit that, you can click that and it'll exit out of that place. You can go back into your orbiting mode, where this is pretty much like a 3D view in Revit. You can use your mouse just like you're in a 3D view in Revit, and you can pan around using the scroll wheel, holding it. You can scroll in and out using the scroll wheel. You can just select somewhere and it sort of orbit around everywhere. You can click shift, and if you use the mouse, it's going to start sort of orbiting around, and you can actually even select them over here. You can pan, you can zoom, but it's pretty useless, to be honest, because you have them here and you also have the capacity to use your mouse. You can measure everything if you want to show someone really quickly what the distance is between here and here, that window, right? You can cut sections. So you have different planes. You have the Z plane, and you can cut this section. You can go all the way up. You can orbit, and you can have a look and see what that staircase looks like by extending that view down. You can do it in the Y plane. You can cut a section this way. You can have a look at the house like this. You can cut a Z plane. You can have a look at the house like this. And there's so many different options. You can have a look at the ceiling space, what it looks like in the top, the attic, right? If you have the basement, you can have a look like that. You can add a box. And so by adding this box, it creates a box which you can sort of only constrain the like a certain amount of things to, and you can edit what that box looks like going up, down, left and right. If you click clear, it's going to come back to normal. Apart from that, what you can do is you can click this model browser, and first of all, you realize that there's two things. There's views and there's sheets. So these sheets will also come from the Revit file. So if you have any sheets set up like your ground floor, your first floor, you can click this and it will show you that sheet. It will just load it. But in this case, I hadn't set anything up in that sheet, so it exported something which was wrong because I didn't delete it. It was in part of my template. What we'll do now is I'll show you the model browser. So in this model browser, we can actually turn everything off, and it'll like wireframe everything, and you can turn specific things that you want. So if you only want to see stairs, it'll turn the stairs on. If you only want to see railings, it'll turn all those railings on. And you can isolate any elements which you want. You can have a look at ceilings or doors, and it'll isolate every single element that's inside the whole project, right? And this is a really good way if you want to isolate things. You can use this model browser. You can expand this and you can see different types of floors. So you can isolate only the ones with wood finish, only the ones with carpet finish, and there's unlimited capacity to filter out everything so that you only have one family showing. After the model browser, you have this properties panel. So if you open this properties and you select, for example, a door, it'll come up with all the information regarding the door, the width, the height, anything that's part of that door when you loaded it into the computer, into your Revit file, it'll be here. So that's really good if you want to see sort of like the heights and you want to explain that to someone, or if you want to have a look in the model browser what it looks like. Maybe you want to increase the height, you want to see what it looks like, you can measure something and see, okay, what's this height? Let's look at the properties there. And then after that, you can change what your navigation and everything looks like in this settings, right? So I'll let you play around with this, but if you like what you see, you don't really have to do much. You can change the appearance or the environment by having like a dark sky, right? And this is like nighttime. And or you can have like simple gray, right? And it'll create like a shadow as if there's gonna be like some sun reflecting on it. And this looks a bit better. So if you want to present it to someone like this, it would be nice. And you can change your appearances. You can add a reflection for the ground and all these navigation stuff. To be honest, it's not really, you can increase the scroll speed or decrease it. It's not really that important, the settings. The main idea is that you can do first person and have a look and cut sections and view everything that you did in Revit for free. And once you're pretty happy with this, first of all, let's say you want to get rid of those grids, by the way, you can go back up here and you can just get rid of 1, 2, 3, those 3 grids, and that goes. And then you can just see that 3D view for what it is, right? Just everything that you modeled. Let's get rid of that. So once you're done, what you can actually do is you can click share and it's going to give you a link. And you can copy this link and you can paste this in a brand new incognito window. So if you open an incognito window and you paste this, what you will see is that you don't need to sign in, you don't need to do anything, you'll start loading, and since you set it up with your account, the person that you send this to is able to do the exact same things that we did by not signing in at all. Right, and they're able to do the first person, the orbit, the zoom, they're able to change anything. It's going to load the exact same way that it loaded for you, and they can turn things on and off. And yeah, you're able to share this with anyone, which is a pretty cool feature. And you don't need to even have a plugin for Enscape, or you don't have to do any Navisworks or BIM 360 exports or do collaboration in the cloud. You don't have to do any of that. You can just drag and drop your Revit file, drag and drop all your services and all your links, and it'll load the exact same way that it's seen on the screen. So this is really cool to see the project that you've done. Have a look at some, you can start rendering things as well. You can take screenshots, put it on your portfolio and show people that this is the model which you created. As you add more and more things, you can start populating the site, how it looks like, the garage, the carport if you want to create one of those. And you can keep adding things to it, and it's really good for you to create a portfolio. And so you can show this to your employer, get a new job, get a better job, get a promotion, and showcase your BIM 360 skills as well as your Revit skills.